Quickly into space, Concepcion, blockers in front, and here he goes. KC says TD.
This is 365 Sports.
Final 30 seconds of the quarter, second down throw to the end zone. Douglas. Touchdown, Texas Tech. What a drive.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Sorsby to keep with a cut. Broken ankles. See ya.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Another first down for Vandy. Pressure off the edge. He steps up, and now he's going to run for the end zone and score. Diego Pavia.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Brown takes another shot. Wide open Koger. Touchdown, South Florida, 63 yards.
Now here's David Smoak and Paul Catalina.
I know that 100% of you will be disappointed that the Dragon, Craig Smoak, is out again. He's got one of those, I'm not sure it's upper respiratory, but he's kind of lost part of his voice. It was raspy Monday. And he said today in an email to all of us that I'm out today, but I will be back no matter what tomorrow. So we'll bring him in like an emergency room type way. But he's out. We don't want to get it, whatever he has. And so he will, the Mojo rankings, which normally come out for the Big 12 on Wednesday, we'll do that tomorrow. Hopefully he will be back here tomorrow. Well, quick note. Saturday, all of us here in the studio, plus Craig, for Brandon, Andrew, Garrett, Paul, and me, we will be at AT&T Stadium in Arlington for a special pregame podcast that will run from 9 until 10:30 that morning. And then we sit back, kick, and watch what will be a rematch between Texas Tech and BYU. Saving College Sports, yes, that's the place where Cody Campbell's a part of, is our title sponsor, along with Edward Jones Financial Advisors here locally, and Ben Erlinson, Cam Heathcott, and also Brad Wilson, which is the name of the football championship too. So we appreciate that. All right, Paul, guess what? Who's arrived? It's in Dallas and Fort Worth. Long trip for BYU, and they made it late yesterday evening. Truck tracker, 25 hours, 1,200 miles with a lot of nasty weather. We are finally at the hotel. All is well. Of course, Texas Tech, it's a pretty good drive from Lubbock too, but that kind of shows you we are closing in on the Big 12 championship game Saturday morning.
Yeah, but the weather in that part of the country was not great as they passed through, almost all of the Western United States. Really, it feels like when you're going from Utah through, plus West Texas, which I've tried to describe to people. I got my in-laws into watching Landman recently, and a couple, people have asked me, like, so how different is West Texas than where you live? I said, it's very different. I said, you're either a West Texas person or you're not. You know, like it's just, if you're from out there, like you really appreciate it. If you're not, you have to kind of adjust to it. But if you're driving through it, you've never been there, it gets a little bit rough because you're like, oh my God, there's a lot of Texas here and not a lot of things. And so that's a long drive for that truck. Of course, the team will just get a nice comfy plane and land when they need to. And
it's been an interesting week though, huh? With Joey McGuire getting that extension, with Kalani Sitake getting a new deal after all of what got to be pretty tense, according to Dave McCann, who joined us yesterday from BYU TV and Desiree News, with Kalani and Penn State. So a lot of that, we're going to have a note a little bit later on in this segment about how many coaches have gotten the bag because of Penn State's search to try to find a replacement for James Franklin. But again, thanks to Saving College Sports, thanks to Cody Campbell. I reached out to him about something different, and I reached out to him and I said, hey, we're going to be doing a podcast live from AT&T Stadium on Saturday morning. He said, send me details. I did, but he didn't get it because it went to his Double Eagle email. So he texted me, maybe a day or two later about something different. And I said, hey, by the way, did you get my email? And he goes, no, send it. And I sent it to his Gmail account. And within seconds, I got a thumbs up. Let's do it. And so thank you to them. And again, Ben, Cam, and Brad at the Edward Jones Financial Advisors here locally.
I probably need to just do a standalone video explaining all of the Saving College Sports type stuff that has happened in the last 2 days or a week, which is a little bit complicated, but not, when you get down to it, and just do it like a 5-minute explainer on here's what happened so people can know, because it is, it's weird how things happen, because there were people who thought the SCORE Act was definitely going to pass and that they had the votes, and then it was going to come to the floor yesterday. Then last week, the CSC falls apart because in part Texas Tech and Cody Campbell, when they read it, they said, well, no, this is not benefit student athletes and the universities as we think it should. So Ken Paxton has encouraged the schools in Texas. He's our attorney general here, and he's encouraged them not to sign it. Other states have followed suit because the CSC, the College Sports Commission, has a provision in it that no matter what your state law is, you have to follow the rules of the association. Well, no state is going to allow you to join an association that allows you to defy their laws. So that was a problem. So once that crumbled, there was nothing for the SCORE Act to feed into. And then the Congressional Black Caucus decided they weren't going to support it yesterday after meeting with the NFLPA. So it's probably dead now.
Yeah, Cody's still trying to help a lot of the sports, and he meant it. He goes, I got into this because of the NIL. And Texas Tech, and then I started to see some things that I wasn't so sure I like. So the reactions to any time you have any kind of, like, I do a high school all Smoky team for East and Central Texas. You see any kind of a team come out. Well, my God, how come we did? So here are the superlatives, at least a handful. There's like 8 or 10 different, like, newcomer of the year in the Big 12. Here we go. Brandon, put it up. Are we there?
Sometimes the computer freezes. There we go.
No, it's not that one. It's the coach of the year. I thought we went through this. There we go. Kalani Sitake, coach of the year. The Chuck Ninus, by the way, he's the one that came in as an interim commissioner and saved the league during some bad times after Dan Beebe. Coach of the year, Kalani Sitake. Now you may say, well, what about Arizona? Brent Brennan. What about, Joey McGuire? What about Willie Fritz? You can't have everybody. You don't like the coach stuff. That's kind of what the Big 12's been doing all year long with the weekly awards. Kalani Sitake, the Chuck Ninus Big 12 Coach of the Year.
Yeah, he absolutely should be. I mean, look, there are, the whole top of the conference, certainly has an argument for it, but I do think that BYU being 11-1 after losing a senior starting quarterback a month before the practices started shows you how much that they had built up outside of that. And then a true freshman transfer who came in after spring football has not only started for you, but been a star I think that's like, if I came down to it, because had Houston had a couple more wins, I might have just said Willie Fritz straight up and down, because they were not good the last 2 years. And last year, of course, was his first year.
Did you say a couple of more wins?
Yeah, like they had
11-1.
No, I'm talking about Houston.
Oh,
if Houston had a couple more wins,
they would have been in the championship game.
Yeah, if they had a couple more, then I think it's Willie Fritz over anybody else, because of how far that's come in a short amount of time. But for me, voting came down to Joe McGuire, Kalani Sitake. If I'm doing that now, the coaches vote on this one, but it would come down to those two, because those are the two best squads this year. And the Jake Ratzlaff, Bear Bachmeier transition, especially given what we know now about the resources that they didn't have going in. Like, to me, I think that's really
Joey did beat him straight up. And
he did.
One of the things that probably worked against him was because of all the attention about how they were able to retool, add, and also make their roster better. But he obviously was in the conversation. So Kalani Sitake, Coach of the Year. Offensive Player of the Year, BYU running back L.J. Martin with nearly 1,300 yards, and he's got 1,229 yards right now. He's the third BYU player in the last 30 years to finish in the top 10 nationally or close to it based on what he does this weekend. L.J. Martin, not a quarterback. Normally, these Offensive Player of the Year, now I like the fact that it went to somebody else besides the quarterback. Who would have then been the runner-up to L.J. Martin?
Ooh,
some of the quarterbacks that were getting a lot of the preseason attention, and then early on, eventually kind of faded away.
So, like, the people that you would have thought, like Jordan Tyson, Sam Levitt, all like Baron Morton is close, but like he's also not played in several like games or just halves, so his numbers don't necessarily stack.
I wouldn't say several.
I mean, several halves. For
no,
sure.
They
blow, like, he doesn't get to run up the numbers maybe like he would given another circumstance. But man, it's tough because there were I thought Rocco Becht would be up for this at the end of the year. Like, I kind of thought that he would be there, but then like he's not.
Nope.
So really, when you look at like when it comes to stats plus who's who's consistently good each and every week, he's not in a timeshare, which even though both the Tech running backs are fantastic, they do have to share the load, is where LJ Martin's just the bell cow.
If this would have been voted on 4, 5, or 6 weeks ago, you would have had maybe Sawyer Robertson or Josh Hoover, right? No, that they Hoover still finished pretty strong. Both had big yardage and touchdowns, but Sawyer, of course, it just got very erratic with the offense at Baylor. Defensive Player of the Year, Jacob Rodriguez. He also is going to win a national award or two. Paul and I both vote in a lot of the national awards. I'm also fortunate to be a part of the Heisman Trophy ballot and also a voter there. That comes up around the corner. But Jacob Rodriguez, the Defensive Player of the Year. Before we get to the offense and defense, just a couple of others. Bachmeier was the Freshman of the Year on offense. Wendell Gregory, linebacker, Oklahoma State on defense. Devin Dampier, newcomer on offense at Utah. David Bailey, defensive end, edge, rusher, the transfer to Texas Tech from Stanford, the defensive newcomer of the year. Spencer Fano is the offensive lineman of the year. David Bailey, also defensive lineman of the year. And then Sawyer Robertson, student athlete or scholar athlete of the year. So there you are with that. And then you have the first team offense. Now, this is when you get a lot of discussion. I saw immediate, like, look for the logos. Look for the logos. What logo in that grouping? And again, nobody's ever happy, right? Oh, this is bulletin board material. Which logo do you see? And there's a couple, 3 or 4. There's 16 teams missing from the right-hand side of that image.
Well, the biggest one would be Texas Tech.
Yep.
There's not. But here's the thing. Here's what Texas Tech fans, if they're like, hey, our guy isn't on there, part of the reason you're so good is you spread the ball around so much, is that there's different contributors each week. And so when it comes to, and especially when it comes to coaches voting on something, now, I have often called coaches and staffers on teams when I've been doing it, especially when I had an AP vote for the All Big 12, and it got kind of in the weeds about, during the, wide open, everybody's running the spread offense era, tight ends were really hard to pick because there'd be like one guy like Mark Andrews who has, 70 catches, and then the next guy has 13. So like, who's my second team tight end if there's a 57 catch gap between them? And you talk to coaches, and especially with offensive linemen, they'll tell you like, look, I know this guy obviously is at Oklahoma, this guy's at Texas, this guy's here. They're the best that we've seen. But I'll tell you who's the son of a gun is this guy from Tech, or this guy from Oklahoma State that you kind of find about, or this guy, the center at Baylor. We really hated playing against him because he was a dog. So, but when you get into this of the first team, like this is
for feet to the quarterback.
If you look down the list, this is mostly stats, or like Jordan Tyson, who missed a good chunk of the year. I mean, it's Jordan freaking Tyson.
Yeah, I know, but that doesn't mean you make first team.
Yeah.
Raleek Brown, running back at Arizona State. I would have had Dickey, Cameron Dickey. You look at the stats, and I don't want to pick at anybody because you're good to be a part of this conversation. Cameron Dickey finished with, at least as of now, 1,023 yards and 13 touchdowns. Brown had a strong year, no doubt about it, for Arizona State. Had 1,141 yards, but scored just 4 times. That's just 9 touchdowns. And even, of course, the young man from Beckville High School, who was so good for them, and Jacoby as well, that could have been a part of this conversation. Now, Jordan Tyson, that's a reputation, and he's a dude. Amari Thomas, McAllister had a huge year. Michael Trigg and Kozel from Houston, who was fantastic, a transfer for them, both as the flex/tight end. And then you see the offensive line with Baylor, Ibidion, and then also BYU, K-State, and Utah with a couple of guys on the offensive line.
Yeah, I still don't like it how it's just OL. But anyway.
No, I don't like it.
Yeah.
You know my philosophy.
Yeah.
There's a center, there are 2 guards, and there's 2 tackles. 5 offensive linemen, what if all play guard? So I don't even, we can get into that, but that's one of the things that I've always not quite, Jacoby Williams, by the way, Texas Tech.
I always kind of felt that it's a cop-out.
Yeah, so are co-players of the week throughout the entire season. Defense. Yeah. Well, then you see logos all over the place with Texas Tech. By the way, Texas Tech, I think, was the number 1 offensive team in the Big 12, which was one of the arguments that I saw flash up. Defense, Tech, my gosh, Bailey, Height, Hunter, all along that defensive line. Obviously, Rodriguez, and then Pollock, as well as one of the defensive backs. Jack Kelly, hell of a player at BYU, and then Tanner Wall. So those are the players on defense. It's good to see a couple of logos that were not on the offensive side, but that is the first team defense.
If you had to pick a Scott Frost coach team getting an all-conference player, I would not have bet it would have been on defense in year 1. I would have thought it would have been on offense.
No, you're right about that. So there we are. The superlatives, the first team offense, the second team, first team offense, and first team defense. Now, game is on Saturday. Again, we'll be there live. The full throttle of all of us will be there live Saturday from 9 until 10:30 inside AT&T Stadium, inside of a broadcast booth, and we'll sign off right before 10:30. Kick back, relax, and enjoy. Chris Klieman. We saw the emotions even a year ago. Then we saw him, 2 or 3 weeks ago, Paul, with the loss. They had the lead against Utah, and it just crumbled. And he just melted down. And there was a lot of different ways of people to look at that. And a lot of Kansas State fans had kind of gotten fed up. I texted Chris Klieman. I'm not just dropping. I texted him last night, and I said, listen, I love what you did there. Just take a deep breath, smell the roses, right? Here's Chris Klieman yesterday during his announcement that he's retiring.
I can't thank all of you enough. All of you enough for being the people who you are and for allowing the Kliemans to come into Manhattan and build something here. And Gene and I talked about this a couple of different times. I followed Craig Bull at North Dakota State after he won 3 consecutive national championships, and people said, don't you dare follow Craig Bull. And we won 4 or 5. And I followed the greatest coach, in my opinion, in the history of college football, in Bill Snyder. And everybody said, don't want to do that. And I said, I just fouled a guy that won 3 in a row and we did okay. I'm ready to go to work. And I think we did a pretty damn good job here.
Pretty defiant in a lot of ways. And, he kind of discussed this, that we was kind of fed up with the coaching staff getting blasted as part of you get paid for a lot of that. I think Chris Klieman's a good dude. Think about this. He won a lot. It wasn't the way K-State fans or he wanted to see it end, but he was very thankful, but he also made sure he did say what he said about following Bill Snyder. How many people wanted to do that? How many? Well, who was the guy that tried?
Price tried.
Yeah.
He tried.
And so, and then there's Gene Taylor, the AD, and I'm not so sure how long he's going to be around. Jamie Pollard, at Iowa State. We've heard about, some guys are just getting worn out by all this. That's okay. If you're not in for it, don't kill yourself on this. But you've kind of, Jamie's even mentioned that a few times at Iowa State. Here is, and we've had all these guys on, K-State AD Gene Taylor on the retirement of a good friend of his, an old drinking buddy of his, in Chris Klieman.
Control. We have to sign these participation agreements, every school in the country. We have to come together and run the business as equally as we possibly can, and right now that's not the case. And people are ignoring the settlement. They're doing things that are outside of the settlement, outside of the agreement, and we need to get it under control. If we don't, more good people like Chris Klieman are going to leave this business.
So there we are with his AD and Gene Taylor. Brett McMurphy had the best of all of what was yesterday, and he always has, many ways, a lighthearted way of looking at things. He said his favorite quote from Chris Klieman was in 2019 at Big 12 Media Days. He's told that Les Miles, who was at KU, wore his LSU national championship ring, and asked Klieman why he didn't wear his national title rings at North Dakota State. And Klieman, I'd have 7 of them on. It would be a little heavy.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Going back to what Gene Taylor said, he's right. But again, like, you do have to acknowledge the flaws that I just talked about in the participation agreements in the CSE of, it actively tells you to defy a state law, and states are not going to let you do that because it really sets a dangerous precedent by saying, hey, I don't have to follow this law. Why not? Well, I'm in a national association. We've decided not to do it. But yeah, they do have to fix things because you are stressing a lot of good coaches out. This is not what they were doing. Now, I know a lot of people aren't going to cry a lot for the coaches because they are so well compensated, but everybody's going to be a part of the solution or you're part of the problem. And I think the coaches are moving in that direction. It's just hard when you've been like essentially this gigantic cash grab over the years that college athletics has had. It changes all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. It's hard to wrap your head around, okay, yeah, I guess they should get paid. And then you find out how much they want to get paid and that money's there. And then you're like, oh crap. Well, that's going to come out of whose money? And, it's probably going to come to mine or come out of this. And then there's all this conflicting things. And then there's no real rules. So you just have to go about it. And your whole life recruiting is not just, hey, I think you should come here. You're a great running back. You really fit what we do. We want you to come here. Oh, they offered you how much money? Hold on. Let me go to our money guy and go, hey, can we give him $75,000 more? Well, no, because then we can't get the other guy because we already promised him that $75,000. I get it. Like, I don't begrudge any coach for hanging it up, but I do think that Gene Taylor is right, and I agree with him on this. They've got to fix this before they lose all the good coaches, and it's not just guys who are doing it for the money.
They'll just somebody else comes another wave. You hear that, and yet these ADs who are making millions of dollars too, or maybe between $1 million or 2 or 3 coaches, that would probably help. Maybe your life be a lot better with what you could afford or what you'd want or some things that you would love to have. But at the same time, that doesn't minimize the pressure. Just because you make $3 or $4 million a year doesn't mean you still don't feel the pressure. And sometimes it can buckle you. And if it does, you got to move on. Now, speaking of money, Paul, Penn State fired James Franklin. It's been a while.
50 some odd days ago.
Since that time, Other coaches around college football, even those who are average at what they're doing this year, have earned nearly $400 million in extensions or new contracts because that job opened up.
So from what I can tell, it's either in part or completely due to them. And so this is a list that overlaps. It's now Jeff Brom, Kalani Sitake, Brent Key, Matt Rule, Kurt Signetti, Clark Lee, Eli Drinkwitz, for sure. Those 7 coaches have all signed extensions, and for sure that is in part due to Penn State's interest or potential interest in them and their agents being able to parlay that into more money. I would say that Matt Campbell has a great shot at getting a raise this week.
Well, if you're next in line or if you're in that little like wheelhouse, yeah. One of the questions, by the way, I want to answer it in the chat about when is Shiel Wood on? He's on at 5:00 today. Texas Tech defensive coordinator Shiel Wood will join us today at 5:00. Almost $400 million. And Matt Rule lost to Penn State as their interim coach. You know, I like Nebraska football. They're so mid. Isn't that the new term now for the young kids? Got the money. Penn State might, in the end, they might end up somehow being fortunate with some of the ones they didn't hire or couldn't hire, or the ones who got better money in the end. Now, here's an interesting note from Vanderbilt. Did you know about this? They could have played another game. Pete Thamel with this nugget, 14th ranked Vanderbilt explored the possibility of playing an exempt 13th game this weekend as a way to give one final showcase to the College Football Playoff Committee. There was interest from a team, university officials, though, and all the others. They couldn't get it done. Could not get it done. Could not pull this off. They could do it during COVID.
Yeah, I don't think playing a game in a week's notice and putting players at risk of getting injured, if you even did get in, I don't know if the juice here is worth the squeeze.
No, it doesn't mean that they're not going to do it.
Yeah, they're already in the SEC. They have a championship game. They didn't make it. You know, that's how the cookie crumbles.
Dan Wetzel responded to this, to the point from Thamel. Then we come back with Sam Kahn. Max Olsen also today on the show. Amazing. I'm not arguing Vanderbilt's ranking. However, the fact Vanderbilt, per selection committee, did not get much credit for beating rival Tennessee, who was 9-3, on the road because they won by so much, the committee dropped the Vols out of the rankings. Alabama moved up for beating rival and unranked 5-7 Auburn on the road because it was a close game, made a gutsy call on a late touchdown. Should go down as a selection committee Hall of Fame reasoning.
Yes.
Bruce Feldman is still, I text Bruce Feldman, he's my hero, about the viral tweet from late on Tuesday.
I believe Dan and Bruce are leading the national charge, which I completely support of. Let's stop the facade on this. Dave Bartu, let's stop the facade on this stupid television show and putting this poor bastard, whoever it is, out there to say it's a tough rivalry game on the road. Man, how many times in the history of mankind has Vanderbilt walked into Rocky Top and kicked their ass?
And they did too.
Yeah, it doesn't happen that often. So maybe you should acknowledge the outlier of that. And that's the other thing. A&M got dinged for Missouri. Remember, they knocked Missouri out of the rankings. You're like, well, yeah, but isn't that good that you guys thought this team was good and they beat them? Same thing with Vanderbilt and Tennessee. You thought Tennessee was really good a week ago, and then Vanderbilt beat them, and you're like, oh, well, I guess they're not that good.
A&M did not get dinged when they survived South Carolina, but Alabama beat South Carolina. It was a close game, and they did. They're full of shit.
Yes.
All of them.
Well, and the thing is, or they say they get dinged, but really, like Dave Bartu told us, the numbers play out exactly how the numbers.
Over the years, and it's been that way for a while. When we come back, Sam Kahn, it's Kahn time. Max Olsen, Texas Tech defensive coordinator Shiel Wood, and more. And this is 365 Sports.
Baylor alum.
I know who it is. I know a Baylor alum. Do you know a Baylor alum? Mike Singletary, Bryce Petty. Baylor alumni group, really kind of a quiet time over the next few weeks, but eventually they will be on the road following Baylor athletics, wherever it might be, is around the corner, the possibility, well, one, Big 12 championship tournament in Kansas City. Yeah, that will be in March, but they're already planning that. They will find a way to make sure that they are there. They'll be at the team hotel. If you're an alum, a donor, a booster, who are a fan, they'll be there and always, when they're on the road, be a part of that, just like any school. But Baylor alumni fan engagement, two great guys in Paul Thorpe and Doug Furch setting things up. We have broadcast back in the days of the radio business. They would set us up at the team hotel or wherever they were, tailgating and more. The Baylor alumni fan engagement. Go to baylor.edu.
Batteries Plus has teamed up with the Dallas Cowboys as the team's official battery recycling partner. Batteries Plus doesn't just sell batteries, they recycle them too. Customers can bring in old lithium batteries from power tools, power banks, and small electronics for a chance to win Cowboys tickets, a VIP experience, and more at qualifying locations. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
That's my go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com.
Golfballs.com carries the latest selection of golf balls, clubs, and gear from brands such as Titleist, TaylorMade, and Callaway. Golfballs.com remains the world leader in golf customization. And of course, online at golfballs.com.
UBO Business Services. We are a studies-based service organization that is the best in Texas when it comes to copiers, printers, and scanners. The way we quantify that is through a company used by millions of corporations called Net Promoter Score. What Net Promoter Score looks at are your Google reviews. We have a better Net Promoter Score than H-E-B with a 65 and Ritz-Carlton Hotels with a 70. According to Net Promoter Score, if you're a 70 or above, you're considered world-class in customer service. UBO Business Services is an 86 when it comes to Net Promoter Score. You can find us at ubeo.com, ubeo.com.
You don't want to miss our best price deals during the Black Friday sales event at Allen Samuels. This month, you can save big on the truck you've been looking for, like the new Rams. Designed to be durable, functional, and stylish, Ram trucks give you that first-class feel. With premium options like luxurious leather trim seating, surround view cameras, and more. Shop our great selection in-store or online today. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, raise your cholesterol, and cause weight gain. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results. So if you're tired of being tired, call or go online at pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $165 a month, including lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, and follow-up visits, compared to $300 or more a month in Dallas or Austin. And you don't have to drive 90 miles one way or the other and fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T has board-certified physician consultations and will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone. Contact Petty Clinic Low T for increased energy, improvement in sexual desire and performance, mood, concentration, even a decrease in body and belly fat. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, pettycliniclowt.com.
It's football season, and we can create your outdoor tailgating spaces that is actually a part of your home. Bifold doors that tie in the inside and the outside, and you can gain anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 square feet living space, all while taking in the big game, poolside. Call us at Gather & Co. Kitchen and Bath, where we can create your unique tailgating space.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%. Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Gas floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels. We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
So much to get to in Sam Con, our Thursday, 3:30. It's con time, as they say, and as our viewers say as well. Sam, thank you very much. You know, in the last 5 years, we have seen so many changes in college athletics, college football, the realignment, all of the NIL transfer, just it's insane. And the coaching carousel this year, more bizarre than ever before. You are a young pup, so you have been a part of this too. Did you ever think you would have so much to cover that sometimes had nothing to do with on the field?
Yeah, actually, my job entails mostly covering what goes on off the field. Obviously, we're less than a month away from the transfer portal opening officially. So that's a big part of it, obviously. But it's funny because early in my career as a reporter, particularly in college sports, I would cover college football. And then in the winter or early spring, I would do college basketball in the NCAA tournament. And then late spring, I would do the College World Series or softball regionals or something like that. And then we'd go back to football around media days. But that doesn't exist anymore. Like no. I cover football 12 months a year every day. So I don't do those other things anymore because there's so much going on. But it has changed a lot. The thing is it's changed for everybody, and not even just in terms of consumption for us, but the way these programs operate. It is really almost a 365-day-a-year endeavor to run a college football program.
Yeah, and nobody can agree on what the calendar should be, although I'm sure you saw Joe McGuire basically like lining up like, hey, we move everything up like a week and a half. Like a lot of these problems just kind of naturally work themselves out, and I have a feeling that if you brought that to the leaders of college athletics, they'd be like, a week? What are you, nuts? Like, how can we do a week? My God, like, why don't we just play it? Why don't we just play in February? Like, let's just move it. As soon as it ends, we start it again. Then like, no, I mean, just you move it up a week, everything could work out on that end, and then you can kind of make some minor tweaks in the back end, Sam.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of ways to address this, and I don't necessarily disagree with Joey on moving it up a week, but I like starting in late August. I think the answer is getting rid of conference championship games. Make that your first round of the playoffs, or make that a bye, and then the first round of the playoffs is the week after. Because that is what I think is one of the big reasons. There's two reasons why the game schedule is as long as it is we used to play many years ago. I'm sure you guys remember. You're old enough to remember. We used to play 11 regular season games, not 12. Mm-hmm. And then we didn't have conference championship games until the 1990s. The SEC was the first conference to do that, I believe, in 1992. And so conference championship games are not a thing that have existed for 80 or 90 years. They've only existed for 33 years. So this is not something that I think is sacred. Now, a lot of conferences don't want to get rid of it because the money. However, I would argue that the money that you get from the playoff, if you happen to expand it at some point, probably replaces the money that you would lose from getting rid of a conference championship game. That said, one thing that I do find annoying is coaches complaining about a calendar that largely they created. We have early signing period because coaches wanted it. We have a winter transfer portal window because coaches said, well, we can't have the portal going on all year round. Let's have a window. And so we have windows now. And so these are things that I find it interesting that coaches are blaming the calendar when they're the ones who push for a lot of these moves to the calendar.
Sam, on the conference championship games, they all have to mean the same thing. I think that's part of the argument. Like, I am fine if they keep them. I'm also fine if they get rid of them, if they are acknowledging we're getting rid of them, because in the Big Ten and the SEC, they don't mean the same thing that they do in literally every other league. I mean, Alabama has literally no stakes. They can be 10-3. I mean, theoretically, they have, because of the way that, like, okay, well, both the teams in the SEC championship are going to get in, even though that would be their third loss, and they have a bad loss. Then there's a team called Texas that has a bad loss that's out as well. The Big Ten, both those teams are undefeated, so one loss that shouldn't, but that should be an outlier, as where the Big 12, both teams with one loss, if the worst one loses, then they're out. So they have stakes here. The only way they can get in is to win. I think that you got to make everything mean the same thing or get rid of it.
Yeah, that's why I think you get rid of it, and you just let your conference standings or let the conference determine who it wants to send. Does it want to send its number one team in terms of conference standings? Does it want to send its team with the highest playoff ranking for your one guaranteed bid? Because I think, like, for instance, even to the Big 12, it really only stands to help BYU or hurt BYU. I don't think it's gonna. The only way it can hurt Texas Tech is potentially drop it out of a top 4 slot. Like, Texas Tech's not going to miss the playoff if they lose this thing. Whereas in the American, it is a play-in game. The winner gets in. So I think conference title games have kind of outlived their utility to a certain degree, especially as the playoff is where it is. And if the playoff expands further, I don't see any reason to keep them around. The only reason to keep them around is you want the money for it. But even then, you start to look at the crowds at some of these things, and the more meaning that is taken away from them because of an expanded playoff, I think the less crowd you're going to see at these things.
Yeah, the SEC and the ESPN does not want to lose that game. They do not want to lose that game because they put a lot of money into it, and the SEC doesn't want to lose that game because of the money, as you said, that they get in return. So, Kalani Sitake, Penn State, yet another target that ends up getting the money in the bag, and this thing got a little dicey on Monday, and then it works itself out. I love the guy. I'm glad he's going to be around. They got the game Saturday, but just the way BYU had to react to that, and the fact we found out that they're not paying their football coach all that much money in the first place.
Yeah, I guess don't underestimate cookie money, right? We talk about oil money in Texas, but I guess sugar products in Utah seem to go a long way in terms of helping give your program some resources. I never really saw Kalani Sitake as a fit for Penn State. And when I say that is, I don't know that there are many better matches of coach and program than Kalani Sitake and BYU. I feel like he fits that place. And not to say that he wouldn't succeed at Penn State. I think he would. I think he's a really good coach. I've said a number of times, when you look at his track record at his time at BYU, they have been fairly consistent. They've been successful, and they have made this transition into a power conference pretty seamlessly. I mean, they had the very first year was a little bit rough, but since then they've been pretty good. And I kudos to BYU, their boosters, their donors, their administration, their leadership, their fan base for rallying around him at that moment, because it clearly meant a lot. When you heard him get emotional the other day talking about the reception and what the fan base and their reaction meant to him and his wife, you could tell it really mattered to him. And I think that's one thing that sometimes we forget when we talk about these coaches, because not everyone is a Lane Kiffin that is going to just take the best opportunity that comes up. A lot of these decisions are personal, and they involve your family. They involve a certain comfort level that you have and you developed in your community, with your team, with your program, your AD, your president, your administration, and all that stuff I think matters. It's the same reason why, 4 or 5 years ago, if Joey McGuire was having the success that he had at Texas Tech, then we would have been hearing left and right about, well, who's going to poach him and where's he going to end up coaching next? But you don't hear any of that right now, because he's got a pretty good comfort level. He's got a pretty good quality of life, and he's got a really good base in terms of roster budget, administration, leadership, all that stuff. And so when you check all those boxes, you look at a lot of these coaches in this cycle. Kurt Cignetti stayed. Matt Rule stayed. A lot of these coaches who were targets have ended up staying. And yes, they got raises, and yes, they got contract extensions. But also, I think if you had told me 10 years ago that the Indiana coach would say, no, I'm going to stay at Indiana and not go to Penn State, I would have thought you were crazy. But this is how much the sport has changed. Proof positive. Yesterday, the top 2 quarterback recruits in the country signed with Houston and Vanderbilt. The sport is changing in a big way, and moves like Sitake or Joey McGuire, Kurt Cignetti staying where they are, I think, are a big sign of how much the tide is shifting in the sport.
I think Penn State also, maybe not Pat Kraft himself, but maybe organizationally from the top down, thought, if we make this move with Franklin now, our fans will be happy because the relationship has clearly run its course. And then we'll get a jump, and we'll have all these people that are coaches that are telling their agent, like, hey, Happy Valley, let's get up there. And I don't think that happened to the way that they wanted it to. Not that there weren't coaches interested, but I don't think they, like when they reached out to guys, it was maybe as excited as people thought that they would be.
Of course, because when we talk about what I just said with comfort level and not rocking the boat, when you look at what Penn State did, and this is not necessarily meant to be a huge defense of James Franklin, but they fired a guy who took them to the college football playoff semifinals. He took them on the doorstep of the national championship game. Coaches pay attention to that. And if you are in that type of pressure cooker, it's really hard to live up to that. I think that's a big reason why Matt Rule ended up not deciding to pursue that job, because that was the name that you heard off the bat was, hey, Matt Rule is tight with Pat Kraft, obviously played there and has history there at that program. And I know Nebraska season hasn't gone quite to what people hoped it would be, but I think Matt Rule probably looked at that place and is thinking to himself, wow, if they fired that guy with that record and that success, what are they going to do if we take a few years to get this thing going? And so I think it speaks to making rash decisions to appease a fan base in a moment when sometimes it maybe is better to take some time and assess before you pull the trigger so quickly. Because I said it then when it happened, and I still stand by it now. I don't understand what you gained by doing it at that point in the season. I guess you could get the jump on the head coaching search, but clearly that hasn't worked out, because if getting that far of a jump on the head coaching search, you should have had a coach by now. You should have had a coach by the end of the regular season or a few days after. The fact that we're sitting here on December 4th and you still don't have a coach, you clearly have botched the search. You clearly didn't know what you were getting into. And I think this reactionary, rash decision-making that we see, which is a byproduct of the era we're in and the instant gratification that the fans want, I get it. These guys are highly paid and you want them to succeed. But it wasn't like the program was falling apart. They had a really tough stretch for 3 games there. He had a really bad record against top 10 teams, but otherwise it was a really successful program. And I think coaches paid attention to that. Coaches see what impossible standard was set there for the next guy, because they're expecting the next guy to come take them to a national championship and win it. And that is not easy. There are very, very few programs that can do that. And it's not to say that Penn State isn't one of them, but it's a really hard thing to achieve. And I think coaches noticed that and said, why would I trade what I have now when I'm happy? Let's take Mike Elko, for example, Texas A&M. We're charging for a national championship right now, and we're in the mix. Why would I trade that in for Penn State when there's a lot of unknowns and there's that type of pressure cooker to step into?
So they gave out the awards today in the Big 12 game. We'll get to BYU and Texas Tech in a minute, but L.J. Martin, Offensive Player of the Year, the running back at BYU. There are a lot of quarterbacks that flamed out or were injured or just did not finish well or flamed out. Jacob Rodriguez, I think that's a no-brainer, although David Bailey could be a part of that conversation among a couple of others. And then Kalani Sitake, Coach of the Year. Paul brought up the fact that you have a freshman quarterback that comes on campus in May and leads you to the championship game. And Joey had to be a part of that mix, but probably gets maybe overlooked because of all the roster and the changes and maybe not getting enough credit for making that happen too. It's not always an automatic. Your thoughts about those 3 particular parts of the all?
Yeah, L.J. Martin,
terrific
team. Terrific player, certainly well-deserved, and a big part of this reason. When you start a freshman quarterback, you need someone who can tote the ball and take the pressure off of him, and L.J. Martin has done that for them. A Texas guy from El Paso, so you gotta love that. One-time Texas Tech commit, actually, believe it or not, and ended up changing up his recruitment, and then ended up on the West Coast, and then eventually to BYU. Kalani Sitake is a Coach of the Year. I think he's certainly well-deserving. I think you could have voted for multiple guys. I think you could have voted for Kalani. You could have voted for Joey McGuire. I think you could have voted for Willie Fritz at Houston with the turnaround job that he did there. I think Brent Brennan even maybe could deserve a little consideration. I mean, they were ready to fire that guy a year ago, and now they're 9-3. So he did a really good job. I think you could have given a lot of different guys that one. And for Defensive Player of the Year, I think it had to come from Texas Tech. I probably would have voted David Bailey, but Jacob Rodriguez, his resume is pretty impressive, and it's kind of hard to argue with it. So I think either one of those 2 guys I don't have too much problem with.
Sam, just saw this. I guess it broke about a half hour ago that Deion Sanders is bringing Brennan Marion from Sacramento State, who is at UNLV, as his new offensive coordinator. That's kind of, look, Willie Simmons at FIU, who's the head coach at FIU, left FAM to go to Duke a couple years ago as a coordinator. Kane Womack, the same thing to go to Bama with Kalen DeBoer. What do you think of this hire, bringing Brennan Marion in to fix an offense that, without Travis Hunter, without Shedeur Sanders and the rest of the crew, just was woeful this year, and with a really good, talented freshman like Juju Lewis coming into his second year?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how those two mix, Marion and Lewis, because Lewis is a promising talent, and I really liked what I saw of him late in the season. I think they really do have something with him as a quarterback, and you understand why he's a 5-star. I think he processes at a really good level. He's really smart. He gets the ball there. So I'm intrigued to see what the future looks like with him. I think from Brennan Marion's standpoint, a little bit of an unusual move to go from head coach to coordinator, but we've seen it in some instances. Like, as you mentioned, Kane Womack was one of them. Sean Lewis has done it before. He went from a MAC school to Colorado as the OC, and then eventually landed the head coaching job at San Diego State. I think Brennan Marion's ultimate goal is to be an FBS head coach. And I guess Sacramento State, it didn't look like the path to getting to the FBS is quite as clean or as quick as maybe it looked like on the surface when he took that job. So going to Colorado, and if you succeed there as a Power 4 coordinator, then you probably get yourself in the mix for some head coaching jobs at the FBS level, a little bit easier there than at Sacramento State, because it just seems like, I think that's what Marion's goal is at this point. And if he's able to go in there and turn around that offense and get them going again, I think you would see him get a little bit of interest. So I think it has potential to be a good fit, because I think Marion is a good offensive mind. And I think he's done some really good creative stuff offensively. It's pretty much any stop he's been at. Intrigued to see how it works in the Big 12 for sure. I think it'll definitely make Colorado interesting. They always are, but I think it makes them even more interesting next year.
The game in Lubbock between Tech and BYU, 29-7. Tech just forced 3 turnovers. Bachmeier could not get anything done. He threw for a little bit, 188, but no running game for BYU. Here they are about a month or so later. Your thoughts, is there shrapnel inside BYU's head, or do you feel like is this going to be much different than what we saw in Lubbock?
I think it will be just a little different. I think it is. I think having LJ Martin a little bit healthier, I think he was coming off the injury last time they played. So I don't know how close to 100% he was at that point. So having him a little bit more at full strength, I think will help them and keep this more competitive. But on the flip side, Texas Tech has beaten just about every team that they've played when they've had their quarterback healthy, handily, convincingly. So I suspect Tech will probably do that here too. Maybe BYU makes it a little closer on the outset early on, but I do think eventually Texas Tech probably ends up winning this by double digits. I just think the defensive talent and the way they have played on that side of the ball, they have just been suffocating to everybody this year. And I just don't know, unless they just come out and they're undisciplined and they're relaxed and they feel like they've already won this thing and they're just kind of resting on their laurels. That's the only way I think I can see this becoming super, super close. I do think BYU will play hard, but I just think the talent level, the difference in the talent level from a defensive standpoint, to me, is too much to overcome. So I think Tech probably takes care of business.
I just think that I don't know what BYU can do matchup wise to change the fact that they couldn't get Bear Bachmeier loose. Like, he couldn't even roll out in the pocket. Like they were just all over him. I don't know what would have changed between now and then, because it wasn't like I don't think it was necessarily like a talent thing. It was just a scheme thing where Tech just knew exactly how to take him out of his game.
I mean, listen, when you've got David Bailey, Romello Height, and Lee Hunter on the defensive line, there's just not very many Big 12 offensive lines equipped to handle that. It just isn't. And so, and if you choose to double team one of them, then that means one of the others is getting a one-on-one, and that's just really hard to contain. So if those three continue to play at the level that they have played, this year, then I think it makes this thing pretty academic. If they don't, or if BYU somehow comes up with something schematically to kind of keep those guys at arm's length, then we're talking.
Yeah, I'm looking. Are you going to be there, Sam?
No, I'm going to be home this week. My kid's got his last soccer tournament of the fall season, so
only if you have to sit outside with no coat on.
Probably so. I don't know. It's going to be outside for sure. That we play all our matches outside. So.
No, don't William Henry Harrison it. It's not worth it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Hey, man, it's great to have you. We'll know next week who's going to be in the playoff. The 12 teams looks like it's down to just what's going to happen with Notre Dame or Miami. Maybe Alabama blanks the bed and they put themselves in position, or who knows if BYU was to pull it off. And if they do, then the Big 12 will get, I don't think there's any doubt that they'll get 2 in because Tech is a lock no matter what.
I'm afraid if BYU gets blown out that the committee's going to use that as justification to leave them out, which would be really unfortunate. But
so you think that if they were to play 24-20, and we've put BYU up the scenarios, BYU you think gets in if it's 24-20?
Yeah. If we're looking at 41-17 or something like that, I think the conversation. Here's what I will say: this next week to 2 weeks, next few days going into the playoff, and couple weeks coming out of the playoff. If you thought last year was bad in terms of the discourse, I'm afraid it's going to be worse this time. I'm not looking forward to that. Like, that's one thing about the playoff thing is it has gotten, the discourse about it has gotten a little bit toxic, and it makes it less fun. Like, I'm excited about the playoff itself. I'm not excited to listen to everybody's half-baked take about who should and should not be in the playoff.
Yep. Bruce Feldman, I know with the athletic.com, Bruce, he threw the F-bomb out there.
Bruce
I loved it.
Brad, I saw that. I was like, ooh, Bruce is hot.
Did you see Nicole Auerbach's reaction? So Nicole's it was fantastic. And he just basically said what everybody else was thinking, and it just blurted out from him. I thought it was great. Thanks for your time, Sam. We'll talk to you again next week. Thank you.
Thanks. Take care.
Sam Kahn, theathletic.com, with us on Thursdays. And Feldman did write an article today about the college football playoffs and how they contradicted quotes from even when Mac was there for the first, couple times, and then Juracek, the contradiction between what they say one week compared to the contradiction the next week. When we come back, top of the hour, we're not done. We'll have Max Olsen. We also have, Shiel Wood, Texas Tech defensive coordinator, today at 5. And this is 365 Sports. Waco Custom Marketplace, your hometown grocery store on Lake Erie Drive in Waco. Here are some of the specials that run through Saturday of this week. They have German sausage for $4.25 a pound, top sirloin steak, $9.99 a pound. When I do the sirloin steak, I do that usually for kind of a little bit of the fajita feel. Or stir fry. That's really good for stir fry. And then pork steaks, $2.50. Chuck roasted, $6.50 a pound. And they even have the sourdough bread, the mixes available at 10% off. So all of that and more. And Happy Valley soup mixes. I need to check on that when I go by there again. They used to have a spectacular chicken casserole mix. And then the company went out of business during COVID and never came back. I tried to search for it on eBay or Amazon, couldn't find it. I'm going to look at what they have at the store. But they have a full-service butcher shop with pork, poultry, seafood, and steaks. Man, they could cut what you need for maybe a prime rib or tenderloin for the Christmas and holiday season. That's available too. And they still have turkeys and hams available in these big tubs, along with brisket, tri-tip, and more. Waco Custom Marketplace, a full-service bakery, too, for all the cookies and bread you want. Cold beer and cold wine. Brian Bauer and the Bauer family, 425 Lake Erie Drive in Waco.
I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
No car payments for 90 days when you bring your auto loan home to Genco. Get 4.79% for 48 months and make no payments until 2026. Plus, get entered to win 3 months of no car payments. Bring your auto loan home to Genco. Lower your interest rate, save money, and no payments until 2026. For details, go to GencoFCU.org.
My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Max Olsen, ESPN, joins us on 365 Sports and almost as many times as possible on Thursdays at 4 o'clock. Max, thank you, buddy. Craig is on. Well, he's out. He's been feeling good the last couple of days. Paul Catalina with us as well. Great feature on Jacob Rodriguez. What a story. I saw the video of him. He's a running back at one point with a 98 number on his jersey. How much fun was that doing that article?
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Got a chance to sit down with Jacob Rodriguez when I visited Lubbock here about a month ago. And, I mean, you just could, he's such a badass on the field, but just couldn't be a nicer guy. And I know he won Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year earlier today. Wrote about kind of his journey, and it's a pretty crazy one if you don't know the backstory. He's a guy from Wichita Falls Rider, really talented quarterback there, and wanted to play quarterback in college, and went to Virginia to play quarterback and to play for Bronco Mendenhall. And they kind of convinced him he could be the next Taysom Hill at quarterback, and played a really funky role there in 21 as a football player on their depth chart, who played receiver and running back and tight end and quarterback and everything. And the coaching staff there leaves. He goes in the portal. Nobody wants him, and he walks on to Texas Tech and learns how to play linebacker, which he never played in high school, and sleeping on the floor of his brother's apartment there in Lubbock, and taking out student loans, and broke, and just trying to make the team. And so pretty amazing what he's done in his time there to turn himself into one of the best players in college football.
Max, this weekend's game does not have the same stakes as some of the other conference championship games. Some of them are rubber stamped in just for being in it. For BYU, they've got to win it. For Tech, they likely don't have to win it, but I bet they don't want to dare the committee or the numbers to put them out. what do you think should be done to measure out these conference championship games so we don't get to this weekend and we have a Big Ten championship game, which I can't wait to see, but ultimately it doesn't matter.
Well, and then you got Duke. I mean, we putting Duke in the playoff.
Yeah,
what are we going to do?
Yeah, well, the ACC's got to fix their tiebreaker system because it bit them in the ass.
100%. Did you guys see the report this morning? Pete Thamel had, I think others had it, about how Vanderbilt was trying to line up a game.
Yep. We showed it. We mentioned it.
I would, and this, I know that, I fully realize that the Big Ten and other people want to expand the playoff. I'm anti-expanding the playoff. I am pro expanding this weekend to have games that have been thrown together in the last 7 days. I think that would be fantastic. I think that you've got, obviously you've got 5 or 6 teams right now that feel like, hey, we had the kind of season we feel like we should be in the playoff. I think that'd be tremendous if you've got Vanderbilt and Texas and Miami and all these schools that, Utah that feel like, hey, we're getting jobbed here. Like, I would love to see these things be allowed to get lined up and played at the last minute. And you can say, well, is that unfair to the teams in the conference championship game to give those guys that extra data point? But people would watch it. People like, I don't think it's like that crazy to do it. And we saw in COVID, people lined up games, BYU and Coastal lined up a game at the last minute just because they could. Like, I kind of wish we could expand that a little bit and add to the conference championship games we currently have. But maybe, I don't know if I'm in the minority on that, but I'd kind of love to see it.
Yeah, I would too. What are your thoughts on, we just mentioned Bruce Feldman lost his mind earlier. I loved it. He just said, what in the, and I know that, Dan Wetzel's written about it among others. And we all have said something about it. What are your thoughts? How are they trying to fool us this week, Max, with the college standings?
I would say I am in the camp of like, we don't need the weekly show. Right. And I like, just as a college football fan, I obviously I'm an employee of ESPN and like, I'm not saying it's obviously it's complicated. Right. But like, I think that part of it is that you have, and Mac Rhodes obviously was in this role earlier this season. Now Hunter Yurchuk's doing it. Like, you have someone who is trying to answer for what the entire room thinks, and that just doesn't really make a lot of sense. I've done the mock selection, like everybody votes what they think, and then it spits out what the results are, and then people treat that like it's the committee trying to make a statement, but ultimately it's just the varied votes of the people in the room. I think part of it is just, this is what the vote turned out, and then we kind of try to give quotes to justify it that nobody likes, and I think you can just tell that the frustration for all the ones, especially the ones that are out right now, and especially the Miami fans, is at an all-time high, and that is I think part of it is just here's the vote, and then we have to try to come up with answers to justify it, and justify why these are the 12. But ultimately, that doesn't seem to satisfy anybody.
Yeah, he's got to fill a 20-minute segment, and that's a lot of words, and a lot of times the answer of this is how it came out that's not good TV, Max. So
and then it's in writing in their policies of like, hey, we start over every week. We start from scratch every week with these rankings. But obviously, that's not what anybody thinks or wants or expects. Like, you want there to be consistency from week to week of like, they were here and then they won, and so now they're here, or they're here and they lost, and so now they have to move to here. Obviously we're not ripping this up and starting over every week. So yeah, I don't know. But do you guys think, would people be frustrated if there was just no committee visibility at all, and we just got a ranking here on the final Sunday?
I know you work at ESPN. We understand they're making money on that, plus they're promoting the playoff eventually. But I haven't watched that show. I'm not so sure since maybe 2014 when all that went down with Ohio State, TCU, and Baylor, to be honest with you. I know Mac was a part of it. I just had it on the screen to see, and of course that flamed out pretty quickly too. But I hate the show. I hate it.
Max, after that first year, I just kind of realized that because I thought I kind of fell into the trap of like, week to week, they're kind of guiding us through. Like, this is really transparent. And then it turned out that, it doesn't really matter until the last week anyway. And then certainly after 2023, I don't want to reinvigorate my trauma, so I just don't. Yeah. And I'd rather just wait to the end and hear, or every week just put out the poll. That's fine. We've done that forever. Here's the poll. Here's the one that matters. All right, let's do that. And we can argue over it as the college football world. And then when we get to the end, then they can do a show and they can break some things down and say, this is what the numbers say. Here are our processes. But I think they've been too secretive of it, as if it's some sort of black bag CIA mission. And that's not what it should be.
But then it's also you kind of, if you only had a one mid-season or whatever, hey, start of November, here's the playoff ranking. And then we have a whole gap, and then after the conference championship games, here's the playoff rankings. I think people would be pretty upset about, hey, well, how much does this align with the AP poll? How much do they get right or wrong? So it's in some ways you have to kind of hold the public's hand week to week and say, here's how we're going to end up here. But obviously people are not very happy with the weekly check-ins on that either.
Max, I know you got to go. I saw that the teams that added the most experience to their roster from the portal, Oregon, Indiana, Arizona, and UVA all had really good seasons. With not just the numbers, but the experience factor as much as anything.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's, and there's always going to be your outliers the other way of oh, wow, well, they spent all this money in this portal class and bombed. And obviously LSU, I think we were really talking about in January, that LSU and Texas Tech had the best portal classes, and obviously LSU botched it, right? So, not that they took horrible players, but it didn't all come together the way they thought. So, I think it's a credit to those coaching staffs. As much as Indiana and Texas Tech get a ton of attention, and deservedly so, for nailing it in the portal, I think Virginia and Arizona and Houston, there's a few programs you can point to right now and say, man, that personnel staff did a pretty amazing job of getting what they needed to be successful this year. And I think that's just the name of the game now. As the high school signing day is maybe less important as it used to be. We ramp up to another crazy portal period here where anybody could be a free agent again. I just wanted to bring some attention to the programs that did a great job of just picking experienced guys and trusting that they could coach them up to make that translate at their place. Thank
you, buddy. Appreciate it when we get your time, Max.
Thanks,
Have a great week. That's Max Olsen with us, ESPN. He had written, he does the transfer portal, the stop rate that Oregon, Indiana, Arizona, and UVA, a combined 23, 42, and 6, added the most career starts to the portal, from the portal. The most career starts, not just how much money or whatever, 42 and 6, those four schools. And Arizona jumped dramatically from last year to this year.
Now, this is just the nature of the FCS, FBS calendar, but I've seen, especially the guys like Max, like Matt Zenitz, all the ones that all report on the portal so well. There are a lot of FCS transfers that are jumping in right now that have big number guys, 2-3 years of eligibility left. The kind of get on that Trinidad Chambliss wave, the Jared Verse thing. And I think that's due in large part to the fact that even if you don't wind up being Trinidad Chambliss and being at an SEC school and being their starting quarterback, if you can wind up at a school in a power conference, just say you wind up at Oklahoma State and you've got revenue sharing, that's a big jump outside of just name, image, and likeness or whatever comes after that. I think I've seen a lot of that, and I think that's why Max didn't have a lot of time today. But next week, I'm going to ask him about: do you expect to see an FCS surge into the revenue sharing part of this? Because even just going from, say, even if you went into a G6 school, if you went to North Texas, you're still going to get some revenue share that is not available to you in the FCS.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I read an article, and I don't remember who it was from, that the FCS or the FBS or the G6 conference schools are still getting rated at a high rate. The difference, though, is those schools are now picking off those who went to the bigger schools or the FBS schools at the highest level who didn't play their first year or didn't play at all or didn't play enough. And so while they're losing players, they're actually gaining even higher ranked players because they're the ones getting disenchanted and at maybe, let's just say, Georgia or Michigan or whoever else. The stop rate that Max does, the teams in the top 20. Now, you probably don't still have that, Brandon, and that's fine because I didn't tell you we're going to get that. Among the top 20, there we are. Thank you. Among the top 20 teams in the stop rate, again, allowing the fewest points per possession. Look at the teams that are in here that are a part of the college football playoff, at least as of now. Tech, Ohio State, Indiana, maybe Miami, Oklahoma, Oregon, maybe James Madison at 10, maybe Virginia, and maybe Notre Dame. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of the top 20, or really 9 of the top 18 are a part of the college football playoff in one way or another, at least for right now.
Yeah. Garrett, here's the thing. Garrett, I'm sorry that you have to look at this stat every week and see LSU in the top 15 of it. If my team's going to fire their coach and go through all this, I don't want to see stats that make me how the hell did this happen?
I mean, you kind of get numb to it after a while. That was really the only good thing turning on LSU this year is what Blake Baker and the Bayou Bandits could do. It just wasn't consistent. And then now you're in a situation, is Tulane going to take him? So we'll find out. But yeah, no, it's frustrating seeing this.
No,
it really is.
It has to be. And then you look at for the schools like Iowa, that they're going to be inside of it. And the offense got much better. Gronowski was fantastic at quarterback. They lose 4 games by a matter of nothing. I know we've tended to make fun of Iowa with their offense, but they always would be in every game. But they improved with Ferentz and what they brought in on the offensive side. Texas, heck of a defense. Utah, they got boat raced once. Texas Tech beat them up in Utah, and then, of course, they gave up so many yards in rushing yards, but they're still there. Louisville was a part of that ACC for a while, and then Arizona with a great jump from what they did a year ago with Brent Brennan to what they did. So this all makes a lot of sense. Now, what do we have coming around the corner? We have the college football picks. I also we have time here. Do you have the Steve Sarkeesian audio? Now, listen, UT is a good football team. They're not going to get in. It's not going to happen. We discussed that with Dave Barr too, but you could see that after the rankings were released Tuesday night. But there's been this, we shouldn't play Ohio State next year. We're not going to play Michigan. Stop. They were always going to play those games because you know what? They have pride in who they have on their schedule. Now, Sarkeesian, you'll hear it from here. But listen to what he talks about why they're looking at future games after the next 2 years when they host. You're not going to give up games at home against Ohio State and Michigan where you're going to have 100,000 plus. Be big, monstrous games. But listen, when you hear this, at one point he starts to talk about why they also might look at dropping some of these non-conference games. And you tell me if there's a conference that he could maybe a little bit of a pot shot and have a reaction to it. Here's Steve Sarkeesian.
You really have to rethink that. And are you, in your mind, are you saying, and I know you still got to play a Power 4 team, but do you have to go for the killers? Or do you have to say, you know what, the committee's not going to award this. We're just not going to keep doing this.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. There's layers to this. Bear with my answer. First of all, we're going to honor Ohio State and Michigan. We went there. We went to Ann Arbor. We went to Columbus. And we're going to honor those return trips. So for the next 2 years, we know what our non-conference schedule is going to look like, and that's the right thing to do. We made the commitment to play them. Now we'll honor that commitment for them to come play us here. I think anything beyond that is up for discussion. We need to, in CDC and I have already had that discussion, we need to take a good hard look at what our non-conference schedule looks like beyond the next 2 years. Because you got to remember, so much of the non-conference scheduling was when we were in the Big 12, and these schedules were made when we were in the Big 12. Well, there's a little bit of a different shift now that we're in the Southeastern Conference, and another shift now that we're going to 9 conference games. And so we've got to be mindful of one, putting our players in the best position to have success and to have growth. 2, we got to be mindful of how the committee is going to evaluate to put the best teams into the college football playoff. Now the goal is to go win the Southeastern Conference every year, and when you do that, you don't have to worry about what the record looked like, and you probably have a good record if you're in that game and winning it. But I also need to look at what the committee has shown me over the last 2 years since we've expanded to 12 games. They care about your record. And so we've got to be mindful of that as we go, and we'll see what that looks like. Again, we're going to honor Ohio State and Michigan. We're excited to play those games. They're going to be great environments in DKR. I know our players are looking forward to it. Our coaches are looking forward to those games. It should be highly competitive ball games with great teams, great players, great coaches. But beyond that is where we got to have some real discussions of what our non-conference schedule looks like after that.
Okay, I really like Steve Sarkeesian. I think it's a great story. He's a hell of a coach. I know he's not flawless. He's not perfect as far as even sometimes the way he manages the game, but he's made them really good. We know about the loss in Gainesville, and of course the opening game with Ohio State that gets mentioned over it ad nauseum now. And then they lost the game to Georgia, 35-10. But did anyone else catch the note when he said, well, now that we're a part of the Southeastern Conference? He also mentioned that they're going to 9 games. That also, I can see that. But when he said that now that we're a part of the Southeastern Conference, when they were in the Big 12, do I need to remind anybody about what their record was in the Big 12 in the last, from 2010, the year after they played for the national title? Texas was 69-55 in the Big 12. They did win it in 23 to say goodbye, and they won it. That was a hell of a team. They won it in 05. We know one of the best teams ever. 09 lost to Alabama. 96 beat Nebraska, who was the heavy favorite. 69-55 in that conference that they just left. Now, yeah, they struggled with Strong and Herman and Max last couple of 2 or 3 years. But it's like, now that we're a part of the Southeastern Conference, I get what it sounds, but you were 69-55 as a football program from 2010 until you left, and that includes the 8-1 and 23. So here's another thing. Someone wrote this, and I forgot. I wish I could give him credit. The SEC has how many teams in it, Paul?
16.
They have 8 teams that are ranked at this particular time. Georgia, Ole Miss, and A&M, Oklahoma all in the top 8. And then, of course, Alabama's 10, Vanderbilt 13, and Texas 14. Missouri 25. Missouri just gets to hang there. They're like a gnat on a back porch in the summer. Mm-hmm. The SEC has taken how many teams from the Big 12?
They have taken 4.
A&M, Oklahoma, Texas, and Missouri. Every one of those teams is ranked, and they've been a part of the SEC. Those 4 teams came from a conference that everybody likes to dish every once in a while. Now, I understand they could get better, but they took those 4 teams, right? They all joined the SEC. And yet, all 4 of those teams that came from the Big 12 conference that everybody likes to shit on are ranked even now that they're a part of the SEC in the top 25. And part of that might be because they're connected to the SEC. But it's not like, and they haven't been consistently good, but let's not act like, well, now that we're a part of the Southeastern Conference, we got to protect ourselves with a non-conference schedule.
There is certainly an SEC bump that you get in the players that you're going to get. And that happened to Texas for sure. And part of but also Texas was recruiting against the SEC and doing well for years. They just were not well coached for a very long time, and they weren't developing talent, and they weren't evaluating people who fit what they did. And they had bad culture, like all the buzz terms that you hear, like they were the definition of overrated and every year, and that they just didn't hit their stride. Their fans will tell you this. They weren't nobody was more frustrated than the people on the 40 acres about how it was going, because every year they got fed the same BS of oh my God, look at we've got these guys. Look, the recruiting class was 4th. Oh, it was 2nd. It was 1st. And then you watch these guys that are all supposed to be good just flame out for whatever reasons, varying across the board. And it took a coach like Steve Sarkeesian to come in and analyze it the way that he has and build the talent that he has. But what the SEC is still doing is they are using the SEC is head and shoulders above everybody than it was 5 years ago. Well, that's changed then. It is not about the conference being better anymore. It is about programs individually being better. And I think that the conference tribalism and the propagandizing that goes with that, just is left over from the time. But if you look at it year to year and how the gap is closing, now look, it hasn't closed, but it's closing. That the difference between Texas and Arizona State last year was a pass interference call. That was the difference in that game. It was not Texas had way better players and way better recruiting rankings and all of that. Cam Scatterboot took it to them, and so did Sam Levin and everybody else. And then a pass interference call in a close game was the difference in the game. That wasn't about talent. That wasn't about like this coach is better than that coach. It was very evenly coached. It was very evenly talented, in my opinion. That was about this call happened at the end of the game. It went in Texas's favor, and that's how games go. That has nothing to do with the SEC. It has nothing to do with the Big 12. It has everything to do with the fact that college football is about who you have in place leadership-wise, how much money is backing you, and how consistently can you get the players and keep them there and not have big peaks and valleys, which you're going to see more and more now. And threatening to take away the big non-conference games or playing a Power 4 team that's not as good as Ohio State or Michigan just to fulfill your requirement is an insult to your fans. It's an insult to college football, and it's ignoring the issue that you did not – your record, you would be 10-2, but guess what? Alabama's 10-2, and Vanderbilt's 10-2, and – if you were 10-2 and Bama was 10-2, one of you would be out, and Vanderbilt would be out because you beat them. So you've got a bunch of 10-2 teams that may not make it from your own league.
Let's go back to what my point was, though, and I get what you're saying. And Paxton, I saw your response. Well, Sark wasn't a part of those years. Yeah, he was in 21 or 2 or whatever. He's done a great job. But let's not forget.
So it's not about
they were a part of the Big 12.
So it's not
69 and 55 from 2010 until even when they left with the team that went 8-1 and won the Big 12 title.
So Paxton just proved my point. It's not about the conference as much as it used to be. Certainly the SEC gives you a boost. Like it's a boost. And it's worked very hard to give you that boost. But the light years ahead that they think they are is definitely way smaller now. That was about Sark. I'll tell you right now, if you put Tom Herman and Charlie Strong in the SEC and just thought things were going to get better because it was the SEC, they would have still gotten their ass whipped all over the field because the teams were not run the right way. The athletic department wasn't being run by Chris Del Conte. They would be doing this same thing in the Big 12 right now had they never left. It's not about the conference necessarily. It's about the people. It's about having the staff. And if you have the right people, you're going to win. They have the right people right now. They did not before. The conference has very little to do with that other than they make more money.
It's just by saying that now that we're part of the Southeastern Conference, you hear that a lot. Well, we're a part of the Southeastern. We understand the history, the lineage. We understand the trophies and all that. But it just gets like that was a pot shot, in my opinion, at the Big 12. And by the way, if I would have agreed with them, I'd tell you that. But it's just now that we're a part of the Southeastern Conference, and we're going to play 9 games. Well, hey, you joined the damn conference. Don't act like all of a sudden you've been caught by something that you didn't expect. If you joined the conference, so take it, but don't bitch about the fact that you're not going to play Ohio State or Michigan or Notre Dame or whoever in the future, because that's your fans. No matter how much more alphas and logos are in the SEC, your fans don't want to play Sam Houston State, Stephen F. Austin, and Tarleton.
Okay. Texas A&M is 11-1 this year, correct, Smokey?
Mm-hmm.
Have they ever been that good in the SEC? Well, I mean, the Johnny Manziel year, but they still had 2 losses. So they've never had a year in the SEC like this, ever. They're 11-1. They've been in it for 15 years. How much outside of the money? The money is great. Money is one thing, but as far as football success, has the SEC done anything to change the perception of who Texas A&M is? They are almost exactly the same team that they were when they were in the Big 12. Why are they more successful this year than they were before? Because they have the right people in place. Because they have Mike Elko. He's better for that job than the previous people they had. why are they better? Because they have the better people in place.
Yes, right now they are. Let's just see how it plays out. Will he be able to continue that?
Yeah,
we don't know.
Mark Richt was a fantastic college football coach. Fantastic. But he wasn't a great college head football coach. And guess what? Georgia, what benefit was to them for being in the SEC of getting players and winning national titles? They couldn't do it. They were close but no cigar. Then Mark Richt left, and they hired Kirby Smart, and guess what? They're a juggernaut now. What's the difference between Mark Richt and Kirby Smart? Kirby Smart's better at the job than Mark Richt was. And Mark Richt was really damn good. It doesn't, this whole it's the SEC. No, it's the guys. It's the personnel. It's the people you hire. It's the infrastructure you have in place. You can go school to school to school, and the ones that are repeatedly successful are the ones that have the best backbone all the way down, and they can continue to be consistent. The ones that are a mess are the ones that don't have that. It's very easy, and conference has nothing to do with that.
Yeah. You could be really damn good, Ohio State in the Big Ten, or maybe Oregon. And by the way, what is it? Ananiah 7 brought up, by the way, just to go off on one little note about the playoff. We don't need another Boise State SMU situation. You're a fan of Oregon. They were getting their asses kicked 34-0 in the playoff game to Ohio State, but you didn't bring them up. All right, when we come back, we're going to do our college football picks. I feel like I'm losing my momentum with the picks. I didn't have a very good week. I'm not sure how everybody else did. We'll look at what we have for the games. A few of them, of course, conference championship weekend. Craig should be back tomorrow. Again, he's been under the weather. We should have the Big 12 Mojo rankings and BYU's quarterback in the past, Riley Nelson. We'll have Blake Horvath, Navy quarterback. We'll have Zach Barnett. We'll have Pat Smith. We're loaded up tomorrow, but we're loaded up next. This is 365 Sports. Don Chumador and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center, Valley Mills, Richland Drive in Waco. It's a great place. And I had sent out a note to a lot of our sponsors on Sunday night as I was sending out invoices, et cetera, for thank God they support what we do on 365 Sports. And he wants to do more. And we're gonna try to come up with a couple of more promotions for Don Chumador with Joshua and then Cheyenne for you, the audience, because I know some of you like to smoke cigars, and we're going to try to work on something with that. He wants to do more. But what they finally did, and I know it took them forever, and I even brought this up, is they put together a website. Took a while, had to get through some legal, copyright, whatever government type red tape, but they got it up. DonsHumidorWaco.com. DonsHumidorWaco.com. If you go on there and order your cigars, and I did, I went on there the first night it was available, ordered 6 cigars, went by, before I ordered 6 cigars and I used the code word, I'll tell you what it was, get 25% off your cart. I ordered 6 cigars, went by there a couple of days later, picked them up. They were already in a little package for me, and I walked out the door, got 25% off. Use the code word Smokey. It's like how they spell Smokey the Bear, not me, but SMOKEY is the code word, and you receive 25% off the entire cart, whether it's a box of $200 or $300 cigar box, or it's maybe a little bit of this and that, whatever product it might be. Use the code word Smokey, SMOKEY, and get 25% off the entire cart that you order, how many times you get on it, at DonChumidorWaco.com.
Struggle with chronic foot and joint pain, and many face mobility limitations as they age. But a revolutionary Comfort First slipper has taken the wellness world by storm. Try Cloud Slides and feel you are walking on the clouds. Cloud Slides.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code SPORTS365 to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code SPORTS365. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks. Win money.
Must be 18 and up. 19 and up in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 and up, and in Colorado for some games, 21 and up in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. And must be present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Welcome back. It's time for our weekly picks. Craig is out sick, so we will give you his picks, through out each one. Last week, Smokey, a woeful 2-3 week.
The graphic machine must be broken.
Yes, because you picked Tennessee. Now, we all picked A&M and FSU. Everybody supported the Paul Catalina Homer picks. And my logic, and Craig even said this, is I was just kind of following your lead on this because I sent my picks in before everybody else did. He said, well, I'll pick FSU if Paul's that confident. And the reason I was even remotely confident is they had just gotten smoked in Gainesville by Tennessee. And Mike Norvell had basically just been given a lifeline and said, if you're going to win a game against Florida, damn well better be this one, where.
Yeah, you know what? You washed your mouth out with soap for leading us on astray.
That one was my fault. But ultimately, that was not the difference in the week for you or Craig.
No.
The difference is that Craig was able to pick up a game and tie you, and I was able to pick up a game on you, not on Craig.
No, you're not. I don't even see you in my rearview mirror.
I know you don't, but I was still able to pick up a game.
The Vanderbilt game, and I'm happy I was wrong.
Yeah, I'm glad you were, but that was the one where Diego Pavia went and made his Heisman case, and maybe he wants you to put that.
So in the end, I lost a game on you and Craig. Period.
Yes,
despite being 2-3, because I had such a massive lead. Although I'm starting to choke it away like the '69 Cubs.
Yeah, we all picked A&M, and that was
that's stupid.
That was.
Seriously, let's think about it. You got us all lovey-doveyed up on the Seminoles, who we talk about both they and Nebraska too much. A&M, what were we thinking? We all said it throughout the week. They don't beat Texas when it matters. And what did we do?
No, yeah, it's true. It's been a very long time since they have. Granted, they didn't play for 14 years in the middle of that, but even still, it's been a very, very, very long time since they have. So let's start it up. Let's go to the American Championship game. North Texas versus Tulane. I'm taking North Texas in this one. Both these coaches are leaving. Eric Morris for Oklahoma State, John Sumrall at Florida. I think North Texas offensively is a little too much for Tulane. I think that's the difference in this game. But they both have the same disadvantage as far as coaching staffs and all that. But both of these coaching staffs are in it for the long haul should they make it to the playoff after winning this game. Well, I just think North Texas is going to get this one.
All right. I take North Texas. It's a 66-point over-under. This could be a 37-33 type game. I take North Texas. I do think they win. Both teams are losing their coaches, which is a kick in the nuts, but at the same time, it's a compliment, and they seem to have handled it pretty well.
Yeah, they have. Craig also picks North Texas. We never were lucky enough to have John Summerall on the show, and now I don't want to talk to him because I choose to believe he doesn't exist. Now I'm really sad because he's a good coach, and he's at a school I don't like. Duke and Virginia. For the love of God, Virginia, if you are ever going to win the ACC, it's this year. All right. Tony Elliott's done a great job, but Virginia, if you want to compare a team, they are the ACC's version of 2024 Indiana in that the only tough game on their schedule when it came out was Florida State, and then that turned out to be the beginning of the end, and that game went into overtime, as we know. But Virginia's too much offense here, but this is a college football God's moment here where you've got a 7-5 team in this game that really shouldn't be there because of convoluted tiebreakers. I'm picking Virginia, but I think everybody should be white-knuckling it on down the line.
Yeah, does that win a couple of weeks ago come into factor at all? Virginia won 34-17, and Duke scored 14 points in the fourth quarter, so it was at one time kind of a blowout. I wonder if that factors – I probably at half the time it does, half the time it doesn't. But Virginia put up 540 yards to 255 against Duke. And Virginia even lost the turnover battle and still won that game.
Virginia is not, like when you watch them, you're not going to be impressed by their defense. They're kind of one of those, they make key plays when they need to. Craig also picked Virginia, so that's all three of us there too. But, you know, like they're fun to watch on offense. And Chandler Morris, if Duke can stop the zone read, they've got a chance, but they didn't do it before. And
yeah, he put up 316 passing, and they just ran for whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
224 against 42. We all took the Cavaliers. Yeah. All right, next.
So let's go to Atlanta and to the SEC championship game. Georgia over Alabama. Of course, Alabama is the only team that beat Georgia this year. I haven't watched Alabama the last 3 weeks, having watched Georgia the last 3 weeks. Georgia is just playing better right now. And I think Georgia gets this dub. I think it'll be another classic Georgia-Alabama tilt. But I think Georgia gets the win here, Smokey.
Yeah, I did too. Alabama, I really initially had Alabama as my pick. And then I changed it. I did. Because at times I look at them where Georgia seemed like they kind of slowly, methodically, like they did with Texas, and then they kind of pop it. Alabama has beaten them, and they have had them. Remember the game earlier. Like these two put on great football games, first of all. But I'm going to take Georgia. I like the way they're playing. I'm impressed with them, and I wasn't 5 or 6 weeks ago. I didn't know how good they were. I'm taking Georgia. I'll take the dogs again.
Yeah, post-game snacks at the varsity.
Alabama this is one of those where Alabama beats Georgia, Georgia beats Texas, Texas beats Oklahoma. But this is kind of a weird. I'm taking Kirby.
Yeah, get yourself a chili dog, a cheeseburger, and an orange drink at the varsity to celebrate Georgia. I think you got this one. Also, Craig picked the Bulldogs to Dallas and Arlington. I'm sorry, to Arlington and the Big 12 championship. Again, we'll be there 9:00 on Saturday morning doing a live podcast 9 to 10:30 right here on 365 Sports. I've got Tech. I just don't see what BYU can do to overcome what happened before. I think that Tech is just too good on defense, although I do think that they are going to absolutely leave it all out there on the field, and that this will be a little bit tougher than the last one, especially given the emotions of this week for that team with Kalani Sitake. But I got the Red Raiders here.
Yeah, I just think they had too much. And the way they won that game, I remember I drove into Dallas and got to Jennifer and Daniels just in time and watched that game. And I really thought it was going to be a knockdown, drag out, like 20-16. No. Can it change? Can BYU? Yes, but and Shiel Wood's coming up at 5 o'clock, the defensive coordinator for Tech. I just feel like Tech's on a really good run. The game's in Texas, but that doesn't matter. I just feel like Texas Tech is on a really, really good. I think it'd be closer because it was 29-7, but I still think Tech just has too much.
Yeah, look, you've seen BYU win in that stadium before in neutral site games. I've seen Texas Tech lose in that stadium before. I don't think it being here, especially as many people as BYU is bringing, really is gonna make it that much different, as far as home field advantage or not. Craig also takes Texas Tech.
This is boring as hell. Now,
it's about to not be. It's about to not be. And that's because we're going to the Big Ten Championship at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. And fried pork tenderloin for me, as I am taking Indiana. I have no reason for this other than I just have a feeling.
They're only like 4.5 point underdog.
Yeah, I just have a feeling that there's something about this. Indiana did not get an opportunity to play Ohio. Well, they did play Ohio State last year and lost. But they didn't get an opportunity to play them this year. They beat Oregon and kind of soundly. Ohio State, their schedule worked out for them, I think, in a way in the Big Ten. It did not wind up being as challenging as it looked at the beginning of the year. And I mean, this is by far the toughest team they've played. I think Indiana gets it done in front of the home-ish crowd.
Oh, Carice is going to just
I don't care.
She's coming after you.
Doesn't matter. Don't know her.
Well, it's because you never go in the chat.
Yeah.
You should know him as a customer. Now, her. I think it's cool that you picked them. I would, for college football purposes, that's what's been kind of fun to see some newbies. What does Craig call them? I call them new booty. With Indiana, I love how they play. Man, I still think about the Mendoza to Cooper throw against Penn State in the back of the end zone that defied logic, gravity, and everything else in between. I'm taking the Buckeyes. This game indoors, I wonder if that helps Indiana a little bit than Ohio State can win anywhere. But Indiana, I'm going to take Ohio State to win the game. What does Craig have?
Craig has Ohio State.
So we have one game.
We have one game difference. So
Craig is trying to. He and I will be tied no matter what.
So no matter what, I can pick up a game or lose a game on you guys this week because I'm picking the Hoosiers.
I just think it's such a great story.
You know what? If Gene Hackman were alive, he'd be proud of me. Even though that was not about the Indiana Hoosiers.
No, it was a basketball.
But it took place there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, listen, if you want to piss off the ghost of Gene Hackman, be my guest.
No, don't.
Yeah. What was that?
Was that a fart?
Yeah. Well, they were playing.
We still don't have breaking news.
No. This is an offshoot of that.
Oh.
Yesterday they were trying to find some sounds, and what I didn't realize when I said go do that they would find all manner of sounds.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You don't just go to the soundboard and not find the farts.
No. Do we have breaking news?
We have.
Let me just hear it, just in case.
We have some.
No. Yeah, I like that one. It's got much more. It's a bang. News. That's like. That's
well,
like,
maybe we should.
You're watching a scary movie like around. No, go back to the second one again. No, I like that one better.
Yeah, that's good. I think if you put the other, if the telegraph on the back end of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I could do. Okay, by the way, got another one?
See, there we go. Combine the two.
If you ever heard growing up, if you ever heard it, da, 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 there was ABC News' stinger for breaking news. Do we do super chats now or at the end of the show? We got one. S. Michael DeHart, Paul. Mm-hmm. The Italian Stallion deserves a cold brew for that Dragon-esque rant about the conference versus teams. He was spot on.
Thank you, S. Michael DeHart.
Yep.
One of my personal favorites in the chat room.
How would you know you're never in it?
He texted me the other day.
He did. He gave us some news, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of news, we did not mention this. Hey, let's do it now. James. Oh, yeah. James Madison, Billy Napier, the next head coach.
Billy Napier.
Yeah.
From Louisiana, and did well there, and up to where he got the job at Florida, and now he goes to James Madison.
Look, I'll tell you.
Who was at James Madison before the latest coach at James Madison?
It was Kurt Signetti.
Yeah.
Then it was Bob Chesney.
Yeah.
And
if he doesn't win there, because they've been winning.
Here's the thing, Billy, best of luck. As I've heard from many, many of my friends that went to the University of Florida, leaving Gainesville was the best day of their life.
Oh my God! Okay, now we're
veering into morning zoo radio territory. You're listening to Smokey and the Bandit.
That one stinger sounds like one of those game shows that they used to like when you had
the
to
bell.
Yeah. Paxton said Brendan Marion to Colorado, which we mentioned 50 minutes ago. But thank you, Paxton, for giving us that update, because you never know. We can get kind of distracted too. The Dragon makes his triumphant return tomorrow. Hope he's loaded with some righteous rants. He's loaded right now with medicine because he hadn't been feeling very good. All right, so Ananias 7's a big Oregon fan. I'm still on his ass with the comments about Boise State and SMU. And remember even the game, who did Indiana lose to in the opening game? Was it Penn State? Who beat Indiana? Notre Dame. It was 27-17, the final score. Notre Dame had that first touch. They went 80 yards or 90 yards.
99.
But everyone's like bitching about that game. And it was 27-17. Oh my God. And Oregon was trailing Ohio State, Ananias 7, 34-0 in the second quarter. So not just the teams like Boise or whoever. That's just such a lazy narrative that you want to say SMU and Boise State when Oregon, who was number one team last year entering the college football playoff? Oregon.
Yeah.
Down 34-0. It's just lazy to not bring that up. All right. When we come back, we did Sarkeesian. That's what got you lit up, and a little bit me. Shiel Wood, the defensive coordinator from Tech, around the corner.
And I'm not mad at, I get what Sark is doing. I just think that they're ignoring a fundamental fact of the reason they're out. That's the point of it. If we're going to have a scatter board, or what they call it, with the data points of all the data points, don't ignore the one that's the worst one. The worst one is not that you played and lost to Ohio State. It's that you lost to Florida. So even had you say you beat Ohio State, maybe you're in, but say, you lose to Ohio State and you lose to Florida and you don't lose the other SEC game you lost. Okay, you don't lose to Georgia. Well, it's whatever. You throw a random middle of the road, say it's Mizzou. If it's a 10-2, like Vanderbilt's 10-2 or Alabama's 10-2, you still have the same, they would have the same problem that Alabama has right now, because Alabama, we talked to Dave Bartu, and he said if they lose the SEC title game, he doesn't think they should be in. And again, Texas should have the argument. It should be about Bama too. It's hey, they lost to a team that beat the team that lost to the team that we lost to.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start balancing these things out here. That's where I think they're leaving out the bad news and only talking about the good news.
It's amazing. Again, that Tuesday show, I haven't watched it since 2000. I did watch it for 30 seconds earlier this year, 4 weeks ago, with no sound up. Who had this here? Oh, from Firefighter 1 C57. Hey, by the way, what are these numbers that it's been about 2 weeks? They just showed up on our handles. I will give Oregon credit. They put the number of natties they have right on the side of their helmets. For Oregon fans, Joey Harrington, great names like LaMichael James,
Marcus Mariota.
Marcus Mariota. I like Oregon. I was just reading that message that was in the chat room.
Look, and Oregon is almost a blue blood, but they're not, because they've never won. They've got good money, but they're outside the club right now until they break down the door. And That's why when like an Oregon fan says, well, we don't want to SMU or Boise State again, like, well, you didn't lose because of them, or your season wasn't ruined because of them. It's because you lost to Ohio State the second time you played them. It happens. It's like you had Ohio State, especially in the postseason, has your number because they thumped you when you played in the national title game. And you haven't gotten to that game very often, although you've gotten close. One day you'll probably get there, but until you're actually in the club, you can't pretend like you're in the club.
Yeah, they're on the edge, and they got a lot of oomph. They got a lot of mojo, as Craig uses when we talk about programs, but also about whatever Anaya 7 or Paxton and Kim and retired stockbroker and Michael DeHart. What I love about all this is that you are passionate. Not always agree. We agree to disagree about college football, but it's a great sport. I just hope they don't ruin it with some of the decisions they're making along the way. Now, this is from Chet Schwalm. I got this last night on my timeline for Twitter. This is one of those where you get messages from people, they contact you or they like something you do, whatever, or don't. You made number one. That made me feel really good. But it's about us. It's 365 Sports. But Chet, thank you for putting that up there. That is his timeline of where he is and how much he watches which shows the most.
Yeah, he's in our top 0.3% of viewers. So
Yep.
he watches us a lot.
Yep.
And if you're not Chet, what are you doing with your life?
Yeah, I know.
Start watching more.
So thank you very much. Appreciate that, Chet, for sending that to me on the on the Twitter timeline. All right, around the corner, he's Texas Tech's defensive coordinator. How many of you, no matter what your career is, whether you are a professor, an attorney, a doctor, involved in some sort of entrepreneurship, mechanic, whatever you are, how many of you would give up much less a month or a year of your career when it was trying to take off, but 3 years of your career trying to take off so that your wife could go pursue her medical career? Now, somebody said to me earlier today, well, hell yeah, you want your wife to have a medical career because that way she's going to make some money too. But how many would derail or stop or put their career on pause for 3 years to make sure his wife or your wife was able to go pursue her career, no matter what the career is? Shiel Wood did that for his wife who's in the medical field, and he talks about that. We brought that up the last time we had him during spring.
I would do that for Amanda if I had to. But fortunately for me, I don't have to. We don't have it. Like, they have kids. We don't have kids.
Well, you do.
I don't have kids. I've been very successful in that, not having kids.
What does that mean?
I'm good at not having kids.
Which means you're
safe.
Lucky.
That too.
All right. When we come back, Shiel Wood, defensive coordinator at Texas Tech. Tomorrow, former BYU quarterback. He's really good as an analyst. And Riley Nelson will join us. Navy's Blake Horvath joins us tomorrow, the quarterback. And this is 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Marco's Pizza, fastest growing pizza brand in America. Right now, this just shows up on the screen when I went to Marcos.com. Pizzoli, warm, melty. They got, what is this? I got to look at the price here for a minute. Oh, no. Did I have it or not? The Pizzoli fiery flavors menu is back. Fiery sausage and peppers. This is the Italian sausage that I talked to Bob Mock about. He's the owner of 5 stores in Waco. Italian sausage is normally it almost looks like a smaller version of a meatball. Italian sausage could be crumbled up. They have the Italian sausage that looks like a pepperoni, but it's Italian sausage, and it's really good. It's got a little spice to it. Marco's Pizza, fastest growing pizza brand in America. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Marcos.com. Tech defensive coordinator Shiel Wood with me. David Smoak, 365 Sports. And it's been a few months, but I remember we had that conversation when you were back in the spring. And what a year. What an absolutely amazing year. So with all of the planning, the roster development, adding players from every direction, that seemed like, okay, there's an acquisition of a lot of talent. We've heard it, we've read it, all that. but it doesn't mean it works. Why has it worked besides just great talent and also your addition to the coaching staff?
Well, the first thing is the leadership of our head coach, Joey McGuire, the culture that he's established here at Texas Tech. The energy that's in this building is extremely positive. The buy-in from our players in the locker room has been outstanding. I think that the collective group of our coaching staff, our team this year, our roster, which includes guys that were on this team previously last year and certainly includes a lot of guys that are new to Texas Tech for the first time, but their willingness to be in alignment with the core values and the things that Coach McGuire stresses every day, their willingness to buy in and do the work and be a process-oriented team that's just worried about trying to go 1-0 every day and get better and own their box and dominate their box. I just think that our guys love playing football. They love each other. And Coach McGuire talks all the time. That's our secret weapon is our love for one another and our love for the game and how hard we play. And I think that our guys have bought in. They put in the work. They're doing a great job of being professional in everything they do in terms of taking care of their body, devoting extra time to learning their assignment, to studying film for each week's opponent. And because of those things, we've laid a foundation in the offseason and in the training camp that we were able to build on and continue to improve week in and week out through a rigorous Big 12 schedule. And that's put us in a great position for a tremendous opportunity this Saturday in the Big 12 championship against BYU.
Shiel, had you met Joey prior to the interview process to join him at Tech?
I had not met Coach McGuire. The first time that I interacted with him was during that interview process. But I did have some people that are friends of mine that knew Coach McGuire quite well and had tremendous things to say about him as a person, as a football coach, as a leader. And fortunately, I got some good advice, and everything that I was told has turned out to be true. And he's a great guy to work for, and I know our players certainly love playing for him.
How much of it is contagious? And what you talk about as a team, the family, the love, or whatever, that's easier said than done again. And then when you win, of course, it helps a lot. But what is it like right now with this football program, with what you have in front of you, with no matter what you've accomplished already?
Well, winning creates a really positive atmosphere, obviously, and it kind of feeds on itself and builds and grows. But I think that at the end of the day, I'm really proud of our defensive coaching staff and what we've been able to accomplish, getting on the same page. Our guys are doing a tremendous job coaching their position group, not only in terms of assignment and fundamentals within the scheme that we're playing, but also just how they prepare our guys to be really schooled up each week on each opponent that we're playing and have a lot of great pre-snap awareness in terms of formations, situations in the game, all those types of things. And at the end of the day, I think that our players have bought in from a standpoint of, I think it takes a little bit of time when you're doing something new collectively together. But I think that what they have seen is our coaches are doing a great job of laying out, a foundation for them in terms of the scheme and how to play it, how to play with great fundamentals, how to play with great leverage. And I think that early on, as we laid that foundation, they started to realize, hey, if I can do these things well that coach is telling me to do, I can see tangible results and I'm having success. I'm winning my one-on-one matchup. I'm leveraging the play the way that I need to. Collectively as a group, we're running to the football. We're doing the things that good defenses do, setting great edges in the run game, doing a great job rushing the quarterback. And I think that as those guys have seen the success that they're having individually and collectively, the buy-in has just become stronger and stronger. And that's been my experience in the past with the success we've had defensively, is that guys, as they continue to improve, it just strengthens that buy-in and that belief that we're on the right track. And then you just continue to get better and better as the season goes on. And hopefully you're playing your best defense at the end of the year. And I believe that's what we're doing right now.
Are you a believer that you just let your guys go? There's got to be, reads and all that and dissecting film and schemes, etc. But are you a believer of just letting your dogs, your thoroughbreds run?
Well, what I would say to that is, and it's kind of funny you mentioned it. I mentioned this to our defense last night after the conclusion of practice. Way back in spring ball and way back in fall camp and in the off season, we said we wanted to play hard. And on the surface, that seems like a really, narrow thing to accomplish, narrow goal. Playing hard, that's running to the football, that's, straining, all that kind of stuff. But to truly play hard, you have to have a mastery of what you're doing, your assignment. And it's got to be a mastery to where you don't have to think about it, but you just have to know it. It's got to be ingrained in you. It's got to be habitual. And then you've got to have a great understanding of how to read and react to the scheme of the plays that you're getting ready to see within the assignment that you have. And so I think that you talk about playing free. I would say that when you have a mastery of what you're doing within the scheme that you're playing, and when you have the ability to understand how to execute it with a great fundamental approach, then you can play hard, and that is playing free because you can read and react. You have anticipation of what's getting ready to happen. And so at the end of the day, yes, I think our defense is playing free because they have tremendous confidence in what we're doing, the approach that we have. They understand their fit within the scheme of the defense, and that's allowing them to play free, and that's leading to a lot of the success that we're having, in my opinion.
I am fortunate to be a Heisman voter. I'm also fortunate to be voting for a lot of these individual awards, but it's about the team. But you do have a player in Jacob Rodriguez who's getting an incredible amount of attention, David Bailey and others. How sometimes that's great, first of all, that all that's happening. But there are others as well, Shiel, that are having great success. Has that ever they just love what the attention the other guys are getting?
I would say this, any of the accolades that our guys individually or collectively have earned or received have been earned with their approach. And so it's a credit to them. And I think that our guys understand, and we've got, I think, a very great character and leadership about us with a lot of our guys. And I think that they understand that although they may be singled out for some of the great plays that they're making and all those types of things, they understand that it's a collective effort of a lot of guys doing a lot of things at a really high level that's allowing everybody to have success. And so I think they're aware of that. I think that they're appreciative of that. And those things have not phased our approach. And that's a credit to our players and their leadership and maturity, that they're just worried about the process and doing everything that they can do to be the very best that they can be every day, understanding that that's going to put us in the best position to be successful.
I forgot who told me this. I picked the brain of some of the guys that cover Tech, but that they said that Jacob Rodriguez said you're the funniest guy he's ever been around, but that you don't really show that much. You got a dry sense of humor. I could kind of see a little bit of that. You're focused, locked in, whatever. But are you the funniest guy that he's ever been around?
Well, I am, but he just hasn't been around anybody that's funny at all.
I love it. And I love that. That's the kind of stuff you have when things are going well. How much do you and Leftwich play chess during practice, even though there are certain things both of you know is on the itinerary, the to-do list, whatever you're doing from practice to practice?
Yeah, you talking about just kind of back and forth between offense and defense?
Yeah.
Well, I think in in the off season, in spring practice, in fall camp, you're doing some of those things. Once you get into the regular season, it's really more about preparing for the opponent each and every week. We go some good on good against each other, but and that's somewhat limited. And when we're doing those things, good on good, we're still doing it with the mindset of these are the things that we're practicing for the opponent that we're getting ready to play. And sometimes what they may do on a specific play during practice during the season, or what we may do, doesn't necessarily match up with what we're going against at that particular rep. But we understand that we're trying to get prepared for the team that we're getting ready to play on Saturday. But I will say, Mac is a tremendous coach. Our whole offensive staff, they're having a ton of success. We're having a ton of success on offense, and we've got some really great players. But our coaches are doing a tremendous job preparing those guys each and every week.
BYU rematch, you beat them, and you kind of strangled them in Lubbock, and eventually just you overwhelmed them. They're really good. Kalani Sitake, it's great to see both he and Joey being taken care of this week. But your thoughts about Bachmeier and the challenge, because he could not get going against you. None of them really could. Your thoughts about, as a freshman, when you started watching him on film and what he can do, how impressive is he?
Well, I would say this. I've got a ton of respect for Coach Sitake and BYU and everything that they're doing. They're a really well-coached football team with some really good players. Bear, obviously, as the quarterback of their offense, is having an outstanding year. I think he creates a lot of problems for you in the run game, in the passing game. To be a true freshman and to come in and do what he has done for their offense and for their football team really is quite remarkable. It's hard to come in at any position as a true freshman and be a guy that can really contribute in a meaningful way. And to have the guy that's the leader of your offense as a true freshman being able to do what he's doing just speaks, I think, to the level of the preparation and his talent level and all the hard work that he's putting in, and also their coaching staff preparing him, and then their whole entire team, from their offensive line to the skill guys, the tight ends, the backs, the receivers, collectively supporting him and playing at a really high level. And we're expecting a tremendous ball game, and they've got a great offense. They produce a lot of points. They produce a lot of rush yards, pass yards. They put a lot of stress on you in different ways, and certainly it's going to be a great test for us coming up this weekend.
When did you know that coaching was not that was going to be your love? You played, and obviously the story's been told. You were a wide receiver at Wofford. When did you know, though, coaching was going to be your career?
I would say probably maybe my sophomore year of college, something like that, is really when I decided that's what I wanted to do when I finished school and finished playing. I just loved the game. My dad was a high school and college player, coached early in his career at the high school level and at the college level. I've been around it as he transitioned into athletic administration and then academic administration in his career. I stayed in touch with the college game, throughout my childhood, and was just always around ball. So I guess to a certain extent, it was kind of in my blood, and just loved the game. And then my time at Wofford, my head coach, Mike Ayers, and the coaching staff that was there were tremendous coaches and leaders. And I think at a young age in college, I was able to have an awareness of how special they were as a group. And I think that kind of led, to my passion for the game, continuing to grow and, wanting to see myself in a career path that they had chosen.
You have been everywhere. Obviously, your alma mater, Georgia Tech, Georgia Southern, Army. They play Navy, of course, pretty soon in an incredible traditional. You were there 2 years. Troy, Tulane, Houston, along with Willie Fritz, and now Texas Tech. Man, that's a lot of moving around. That's I always wonder, do coaches have like every former like color, logo, whatever in their closet? But you have moved around, and it seems like you've settled in. But I got a feeling you got other people that would love for you to be their head coach one day. I know that's just to say that, but how hard is that? How it's your career, but how difficult has that been at times?
Well, I couldn't do what I do without the support of my wife. She has been outstanding. We've got 2 young daughters, and she's really been remarkable in our marriage and our life with our family, supporting my career and really sacrificing her career to a large extent. She's a physician and has kind of put that on the back burner to support me in my endeavors with my career. When I started out coaching, I was at Wofford in 2 stints. But my first 8 years of coaching college football were spent at my alma mater for 8 years and 2 stints. So I was there for a while, and then I got an opportunity to go to Georgia Tech with Nate Woody, who became the defensive coordinator there. He and I had worked together at Wofford. He's a mentor of mine. And unbeknownst to me, that one move going to Georgia Tech in Atlanta in the winter of 2018 for the 2018 season would kind of just set in motion a chain of events that led to a lot of moves in the last number of years. And I don't know that anybody would look at a career and and want that, or say, hey, I'd love to move around and buy a house and sell a house every other year or so. But it's just kind of the path of life that that we're leading right now and have led. And I will say this, but I've been very blessed that the moves that I've made have been tremendous opportunities professionally for me and tremendous opportunities for our family. So we're very thankful for that. And Texas Tech is a really special place, and I'm looking forward to being here and helping us really build something for the long term that the Texas Tech alumni and fan base can be really proud of.
Well, it's happening. Bernadette is your wife, and we've told that story about how you stepped away so she could pursue what she needed to do in the medical field, which is still just an unselfish, great story that you should do. I mean, but not everybody would, like step away. When you were away from coaching, even though you probably were doing things, did you miss it even more and you couldn't wait to get back?
I definitely missed it. It's kind of the coaching profession is somewhat unique, I think, whether that's high school, college, pro. It's just very, calendar driven. At certain times of the year, X, Y, and Z is what you do, and you don't really have any flexibility with it. And that's not a bad thing. That's just the nature of the beast. And so to have had that as my career experience up until that point when I stepped away, it was kind of strange, to be quite honest with you. You got a weekend in the fall, you can choose what you want to do with it.
Yeah.
But I definitely missed the game and knew that was just a season of our lives, and it was absolutely a tremendous opportunity for our family at that point in time for me to be able to stay at home with our daughter and support my wife with her career. I would not change anything about that. I think it helped me grow a lot as a person and as a husband and as a father. I look back on those times with fond memories, and without that period of time, I don't know that I'd be sitting where I am today. And then I got very fortunate, obviously, that I was able to get back in after a 3-year hiatus and kind of take it from there.
All right, a couple more things. I know, Shiel, first of all, thanks for your time. Shiel Wood, Texas Tech defensive coordinator. You were at Army for a couple of years. My dad was a Naval Academy graduate. He passed away in 2015 with my mom the same year, earlier in the year. But I can't tell you, I get so emotional when I watch that game, even when I was like 5 or 6, watching it on a black and white TV with my father. I'm interviewing Blake Horvath later today, the Navy quarterback, an amazing player. What was that like, Shiel, to be a part of that for a couple of years?
Well, first of all, thank you to your father and his service to our country. As a patriotic American, coaching at Army West Point was a tremendous opportunity and just an unbelievable experience. My wife and our 2 daughters, we got to live on post. So on the base there at West Point, as a coach at Army, as a full-time coach, they allow you to do that. So we lived in military housing for 2 years on post. It was an interesting time because we moved in literally the week of the shutdown in March of 2020 when New York was shutting down with the COVID pandemic. So that first year was just kind of strange. Really, the 2 years that I was there, to be quite honest with you, we didn't really get maybe the full experience of being in a place like that because of the nature of the COVID pandemic. But it really was. I met so many tremendous people, leaders of our country, leaders, the players that you get to coach, the character, the work ethic, the leadership that they have, and knowing that when they commission as second lieutenants in the United States Army upon graduation, they're going to go out into the Army and lead our troops. It's just pretty cool to be a part of. Just a ton of different experiences being around that place, being associated with the other academies, Air Force, Navy, those academy games, certainly the Army Navy game. Those were tremendous experiences that I'll never forget and cherish for the rest of my life.
What is one trait that's underrated that not enough people know about with Joey McGuire?
Golly, I would just say his consistent positive energy is remarkable. He is the same person every day. And I do think that story's getting out there a little bit more. So I don't know if that's something that people don't know about him as much or not, but he is such a positive individual, and the consistent energy that he brings with that positivity. I've never been around an individual like that, and it is a genuine personality. He is so welcoming to everybody that he meets. My wife and daughters come to practice often. Every time they're there, he makes an intentional effort during practice, after practice, when he sees them, whatever, to come up and speak to my wife, to speak to my daughters, to give them a hug. He's just so gracious with his time. And that's just with everybody that he meets. People that are associated with the program, people that are associated with the game of football, recruits, their families. It's really remarkable to be around a guy that just treats people with so much dignity and respect, and outgoing personality that makes people feel really, really great. When you leave an interaction with Joey McGuire, you feel outstanding about life, and that's a really neat thing.
Yeah, and Joey told me that when he talked to Sean Bell about you when he was going through the search, and Sean told him everything he saw in you, and that sold him too, and that you could see it. Shiel, good luck. To give me 15 or 20 minutes on a week where you have a game to play for a championship and a college football berth and more. We appreciate your time very much. Good luck this Saturday, and thanks for your time.
What I love most about playing basketball is the competition. I really just like being shifty, mastering hesitation moves, changing direction, building chemistry with new teammates. If you're not having fun while you're playing, it's no point in playing the game. You know what to do. Escape Basic. Pair of Thieves quick dry underwear. It wicks away sweat and helps keep you dry. You looking forward to fishing season?
The game-winning play right here in my hand. The spices dancing on my taste buds. The crispness is unreal. The crunch giving it way to that tender, succulent meat. The magical wood-fired flavor from the Pit Boss. It's like a celebration of barbecue in my mouth. A touchdown of taste. A championship of flavor. It's a symphony of taste and texture. Touchdown! The ultimate game day feast. Only on Pit Boss.
At Prime Putt, we obsessed over every little detail, working with experts to innovate something as simple as a putting mat. We focused on the things that mattered most to golfers, wanting to lower their scores, perfect feedback, developing good form, lifetime durability. Prime Putt is a mat that will perform perfectly and last forever. PrimePutt.com.
A leader within the industry, Respawn fuses more than 75 years of ergonomic expertise with gaming culture to create best-in-class chairs. We believe that comfort and performance should be inclusively designed into every gaming chair we create, which is why we're immersed in the gaming community. Respawn is for every gamer. Our products are for professionals and casual players and everyone in between. We don't just make good-looking gear, we bring experience. Visit respawnproducts.com today and find your chair for the next great adventure.
Revive Superfood Smoothies. Pill, pour, blend, and enjoy. All within the comfort of my own home.
Revive Superfood Smoothies. Peel, blend, and enjoy. Fast and easy, and I'm out the door.
SoftwareDeals.com is here for one reason: to partner with IT professionals and provide them with fantastic software and licensing at ridiculously low prices. We don't have the overhead of a multinational, publicly traded tycoon corporation. We can afford to give those savings to you and your buyers. We know the struggles of small businesses and what it takes to stay afloat in a competitive marketplace.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Flag and Anthem. Go to flagandanthem.com. Use our promo code 365sports for a discount at checkout. Today, let's talk about what caused this at Penn State. How do you get to this point, 50-plus days after you fired James Franklin, and not having a head coach? Well, first, number 5, we got to start out about why this happened. The relationship, James Franklin, Pat Kraft, the university, had run its course. When you hear a coach making the excuses, and they were excuses, not reasons, why Penn State was losing some of these games like travel, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, it's come to the point where he doesn't have the answers for why a school that's invested so much and why he has invested so much are not getting things done. So you lose to Oregon, you lose another big game. Why are you not there? What is missing at your university? All those things. If you don't have those answers and the AD doesn't have those answers for you, the relationship has run its course. I think they had kind of worn each other out. Now, getting fired in the middle of the season was a big shock, but that also kind of is what makes them maybe a little more difficult to fill. Number 4, the AD didn't hire James Franklin. Pat Kraft did not hire James Franklin. So when this happens at schools, no matter how successful a coach may be in the past, when the tide starts to turn, the AD has to protect himself first, because if you don't, you go down with the ship. So Pat Kraft, who's new to this job at Penn State, not the guy who hired James Franklin. Now he's got to hire the next one, but he wasn't going to take the blame for sticking it out, especially for a guy that he did not hire. Number 3, the big dogs don't really exist anymore. This is a university and a football identity that's carved in the image of Joe Paterno. Now, I'm not talking about Joe Paterno's off-the-field faults, of which we are well aware. This is just about building a football program around an icon. Joe Paterno, Bobby Bowden, Bear Bryant, Woody Hayes, Darrell Royal, those guys don't exist in the same way anymore. Now, look, there are some giants in college football. We just lost one to retirement in Nick Saban. Kirby Smart is a big-time coach, but he is not near to the level that all those other guys are, nor do I think he really ever will be, because the game is so different now. So when you've got a fan base and a school that their feel-goods, their memories, all of that is based on back when Joe Paterno was here, it was stable and we won a national championship once. That's what you're contending with historically. And if you fire a coach who's been very successful in an era where the next great is not really readily available, well, I mean, it's going to be hard for your fans to be satisfied with anybody you hire if their measuring stick is the all-time winningest coach. Number 2, firing a coach with a stellar record. Now, this is not such a big deal, but I did put it at number 2 for a reason. I think a lot of coaches who don't have as good a record as James Franklin does, that might be offered this job because Penn State thinks they could, might have been slow to play it out because the expectation is they go to the playoff right away and win right away. Well, firing James Franklin's going to set you back. So if your expectation is to be at 10 wins right away, that's a big expectation for a coach, and then might, slow the gears of money in year 2. Year 1, they're going to throw as much money and resources as they can at someone. But if they don't figure that out quickly, they're going to be like, well, we should have just worked it out with James Franklin. It's a complicated political system when it comes to college football coaches and hiring, firing. And this makes some coaches nervous that, like, okay, well, what are my expectations and how long of a leash do I really have if you fired a guy who was in the playoff a year ago and 1 game away from the college football championship game? And number 1, swinging for coaches you weren't going to get. This part of this goes to the fact that Penn State is operating under the idea that all these jobs are very different now. They're not. They're mostly the same. Now, there are a few that you can say, like LSU versus Ole Miss. Take out all of Lane Kiffin's bluster, you can definitely say it's been historically easier to win a national title at Ole Miss than it has been at LSU, considering that Ole Miss has not done it, and LSU's done it with 3 different coaches in the last 25 years. That in the last 20 years, my gosh. So not even that long. And 2 of those coaches weren't even great head coaches. They were just good head coaches at their peak. So the talent is there. It's different at LSU. Penn State operates under this idea that their national championship wasn't that long ago. It was a very long time ago. A very long time ago. So let's take the reality of where you are. And look, if you're Kurt Cignetti and Indiana's ready to make this your program and your name, you don't have to move again like you did a couple years ago. You can just stay at Indiana, make the same money you'd make at Penn State, play them in the conference, and not have to worry about it. Matt Rule is an alum, but also he had the same problems and still does that James Franklin does, is he hasn't won the big games yet. Nebraska doesn't want to see him go because they want to see him build the program. So they're not going to let him go back to his alma mater. They're going to give him what he wants to stay, whether that's completely justified at this point or not. I think you have to make the investments you can. But so they swung and missed on their first two. Then that set off the domino of everybody else like Brent Key, Jeff Brom, all these coaches that were at their alma mater deciding, well, I'm not going to leave here to go there when I'm building something right now that everybody's pretty happy with. The money's all the same. So if the money's all the same, it's going to be hard to swing at these coaches and get them. And look, they almost got Kalani Sitake this week. They were very close, but guess what happened? BYU stepped up with the money and ended that. So you've got to start thinking outside the box. I don't think they've done that yet. I don't think they've looked at coordinators very hard, and I don't think that they have really, really looked at who fits the program the same way now because they keep just striking out. So this is going to be Brian Daboll, or they're going to make Terry Smith the interim, the head coach. It's a mess in Happy Valley right now, and we'll see how they figure it out. But this is not how they expected it to go. And we don't know what's going to happen. We have no expectations because the carnival starts now. Breaking news. Tosh Lupoy officially named Cal head coach, Smokey. So I wanted to get that in before the wheel.
What's the name of his quarterback?
Jaron Kiawe Sangapulatele.
There you go.
Yeah. So Tosh.
Good damn guess.
Yeah, no, I knew.
Craig nailed.
You have to.
He nailed that the first time he ever played.
You have to just.
Like it's Coach Ken at Navy, or now San Jose State, or wherever.
Niumatalolo.
Yeah.
Niumatalolo. All right, let's do the wheel. But Tosh Lupoy leaves Oregon to go to Cal. They've lost both their coordinators to head coaching jobs in the last 3 days. All right. Would you ever watch a game at the Cosm in Dallas? Yes, absolutely. I wanted to. Last week on Thanksgiving, I wanted to go there and watch A&M and Texas. Have you seen Cosm?
Yep.
Sogi? Like, yes, absolutely.
It's pretty amazing.
Would love to do that. Cosm, if you're watching, call us. We'll come up and do a show there. But it's not to get in the main, like the dome part of it, the cool part of it, it's pretty pricey. So
how much? Like $500, $200?
Like $300 a person.
Yeah, that's pretty pricey.
It was pretty pricey. So but I would love to do a show there. I would love to go do that. I thought about it like 5-6 weeks ago because Amanda and I were in DFW. We were in Grapevine for crying out loud for Thanksgiving weekend. I thought, well, this is where we should go watch A&M in Texas. But when I looked it up, I was like, Lan, I'm already paying a lot for the Gaylord. I don't think I want to add
You should have a
it.
timeshare there.
Amanda would love it. So I have a feeling I'm going to get roped into going to the one in Nashville again this year. So, which is fun. I'll tell you, we had a blast this year.
Roped.
Yeah,
That's a little kinky.
Yeah, maybe. I enjoy the Gaylord now. We were kind of traumatized, and I had some kind of stressful memories from when we did the Cotton Bowl there for a lot of different reasons.
William Floyd's one of them.
Yeah, that was one of them. But like the biggest reason was I resented all these people that were in the lobby taking their Christmas pictures while each day I had to drag for like 4 days. I had to drag across equipment, from my room.
Yeah, that was hard.
It was really annoying, and nobody seemed to care because you've got crying babies and Christmas pictures and everybody's in their jammies. And I was just like, I'm going to lose it on one of these Santa freaks in a second. And plus,
you were pissed off because you weren't Santa because you love doing that.
I don't.
Having
Yeah.
kids
So I was
pee in
just
your
like, I
lap.
was going to lose it.
All right.
But my heart has been softened in my middle age now.
But the answer to the wheel was yes, we would.
Yeah, we'd absolutely do it.
Yep.
So Cosm, call us. Which NFL player returned to the league after being wounded in combat, later winning 4 Super Bowls with his team?
That's easy.
He's a good friend of the show, as a matter of fact.
Rocky Blyer.
Rocky Blyer. Played in the movie by the greatest actor who ever lived.
Yep.
No, second greatest. Robert Urich, but still.
Yeah, he was good. As the last couple of years, I remember we spoke with him. He talked very slow. And it wasn't because of any injuries. He just was methodical. So a 12-minute, 15-minute interview was going to be 25 or 30. But, yeah, Rocky Blyer, great dude. Fantastic. Nice man, too. And won the 4 rings during the 70s and the Steelers.
Yeah, my dad, also a fellow Vietnam veteran, loved Rocky Blyer, hated the Pittsburgh Steelers because he's a Cowboys fan. But when Rocky Blyer was there, it was like, no, this is one of my guys. This is one of my guys right here. So, yeah, Rocky, has done more for veterans. Like, he does more for veterans in an hour than a lot of people who volunteered have done in a lifetime. He's done a ton for veterans over his life. So love Rocky Blyer, one of my favorites, one of the guys we love having on the show. Next trivia question. Which NFL player famously pulled a Sharpie out of his sock after a TD to sign a football? Smokey, I didn't get to know this guy. Did you ever get to interview him? Because we know who this is. It's not Randy Moss. It's not Joe. No, wait.
It's Joe Horn.
It's Joe Horn. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't remember. What?
Oh, it's too old. Joe Horn had the.
He humped the.
Yeah. It's T.O. Did you ever get to interview T.O.?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. It was like the Dion interview that one time at the Super Bowl where he didn't want to do it, but he was paid to be there to do interviews, and yet he was a little bit prickly. But then you got him on the air, and he was pretty good. He's a great personality. And then I covered the Cowboys when he was there, and that was interesting too.
Yeah, so. I wondered. But did you?
But I did an interview with him.
Did you do an interview with him with the Cowboys, or was it at the Radio Row?
It was with it was at Radio Row.
Oh yeah. So the Cowboys get real territorial with the superstars in their interviews.
No one more than the damn quarterback, Romo.
Oh gosh,
he was treated like he was Aikman, Staubach, Meredith, and everyone else in combined. He was good, but it was a little bit much.
Yeah, and they kind of transferred that to Dak, although he's not as protected as Romo.
He did the Galloway.
Yeah,
and I think even one time he even said no to Hansen.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that night drinking beer with him and hearing all that. Oh,
so Galloway. One year they did the interview and they were standing behind our tent and he was waiting to talk to Tony Romo because Chris Harrison, the former host of The Bachelor, was there and brought his son to meet him. And Galloway didn't care about the damn Bachelor.
No,
and I got to hear all about that. And then I think they did I told Randy, I was like, well, we're leaving. You go ahead and sit in here. And they did the interview in our tent. So he could sit down because he'd been waiting for so long.
Yeah.
And it was beer 30 for Randy. He was not.
Yeah,
he was not happy.
Don't keep him from cold beer.
No, well, especially not for the host of The Bachelor. He did not.
Yeah.
He did not care for that. So anyway, let's go to the poll questions now. Should the P4 petition to vote Notre Dame out of the CFP field until they join a conference? 86% out of 508 said yes, their brand bias is unfair, and 14% said no, history brand is essential.
Well, first of all, Notre Dame can do whatever the hell they want, and that's why they do whatever the hell they want. And there's no way that college football playoff would move forward without them.
Yeah, no, that's the thing.
No matter what.
So and Andrew asked if he should put this question up, and I said, yeah, because I'm really curious to see what the national attitude is toward it. And 508 votes, it's a lot for us. But I know this. They have allowed them to do it. It's to the toothpaste out of the tube on Notre Dame, right? So they can't, they could try to all get together and say, you got to join a league, but the Notre Dame athletic director is one of them, is one of the conference commissioners.
Yep.
So until there's some sort of financial incentive for them to do that, then they're not gonna.
It's not going to happen until it actually works against them. If they're not in a conference championship game or locked in, and this year, even if it goes against them, it might make them just, like, whoa. But no.
Jack Swarbrick knew that they would never get a first-round bye under the system and supported it because his concession was he knew if they were 10-2, they're going to host a home game more than likely. Well, or close, but like they're going to have a
508
really
votes. Good one, Andrew.
Yeah, good poll question. Next, what is Pat Kraft's real goal?
I didn't like this one. I understood the question, but I didn't know if there was even an option that I really
waiting for Saban to call back one.
Yeah. Let top coaches walk.
Yeah.
See how long fans
last leaderless. Yeah. Ooh.
Waiting for Saban to call back, saving money by hiring after the portal. Poor guy.
You know, here's the thing that's going to happen, though. If they,
I'm not saying he's poor. He made a terrible mistake.
If it didn't work out how they thought it was going to. I just talked about it in the top 5. But if they fired James Franklin just to elevate a coach on the staff, that's not going to go over well.
You didn't,
as much as people like him.
You did not fire James Franklin without someone that was going to be like looking at him eye level, a banger or an up and coming stud. And I hope the interim coach gets the job because he smoked Matt Rule in Nebraska and they loved it. They love it. The players love him. But that's not why you fire James Franklin.
No, and look, maybe the other thing is now you've kind of jerked this guy around too.
Yep.
With like, okay, we've interviewed it or we've tried to get everybody.
I guess we'll give it to you type of thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you want to stay? I mean, he's going to say yes, but it's still, I don't know. Like it's one of those things where you've put him kind of behind an 8 ball that he didn't deserve to be behind.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. So there we are with the poll questions. Andrew, thank you very much. Andrew Valade, also Brandon Rowe. Garrett left early for he can't get home. There's a Christmas parade in his neighborhood. Is that the deal?
Yes. There's a Christmas parade in his neighborhood, and he didn't realize this, but a couple years ago, we're doing the show until 6 o'clock. And he gets in his car and he goes home, and he's in his car for an hour and a half because he can't get to his actual house.
Tell the wife and children to meet me at a restaurant.
Well, he had the car.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah. Well, you know what? I'll bring it home to you. I'm going to a restaurant.
Yeah.
All right, Brandon. Again, thank you, Andrew. Thanks to Garrett Ross. Thanks to everybody today. We had a couple of young new booties in the chat. It was fun, even though some of you came in a little. Sometimes that happens. They come in a little strong, but we do appreciate you watching what we do. For Paul Catalina, I'm David Smoak. Hopefully, Craig's back tomorrow with Dragon-esque type of stuff, the Mojo rankings, and more. This, thanks to Shiel Wood at Texas Tech, is 365 Sports.